So, got the throat coat on. Last 2 out of the last 3 days, I've choked on my own phlegm because I have a 25-month-old, and she's basically a walking booger until she's 5.
Until she's 25, you mean?
So, let's get through this without choking on some phlegm. And I love these types of David Sampson shows, David, because I don't have much to talk about. So we're just gonna see where this roller coaster takes us. But I do want to start with, for me, the story of the week, and I am probably an example of why what Adam Schefter did with the Dalvin Cook reporting a couple of days ago was problematic, because I saw Adam Schefter's tweet. For those that don't know, Adam Schefter broke the news about Dalvin Cook's current situation, but he didn't just break the news, he framed a narrative. And I was guilty of seeing the tweet and moving on with my day, taking it for what it was, which was a tweet framed by Dalvin Cook's agent that said Dalvin Cook was a victim of domestic abuse. There's always another side to that. Adam Schefter, in the ensuing days and hours, has admitted that he didn't do his due diligence and reach out to the other side, and now all sorts of reporting is being done. And it seems as though there's more. If Dalvin Cook's a victim, he's certainly not the only victim in this story. There are damning photos, damning text messages being released out there via reputable media sources. And David, I'm curious. This is the second time in a few weeks that we've talked about Adam Schefter's questionable reporting, and I'm wondering how you processed this Dalvin Cook incident, which for me is far and away, not that we're doing comparison shopping on this, but the Mr. Editor thing, it didn't really register with me because I think insider reporting is different. This was dangerous, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Why is this one dangerous? You're saying the word dangerous because people like you read something, assume it to be true, and then go on with your day. Is that the danger?
Yeah, and I like to think that I'm a little bit more cautious about what I see on the internet with blue checks and all, but this really framed it in a way that it lands differently if the reporting was a little bit more thorough and fair, David.
The entire presidential election of both 2016 and 2020, and maybe even 2012 and 2008, if we want to go back even further, the media and social media has had such a huge influence on all of these things. And now you're sort of seeing it bleed into the sports world. It's been in the political world forever, where messaged tweets are done for the purposes of either being elected, being reelected, for getting the narrative on your side from a PR standpoint. That is how social media has been used as a sword for a decade. So it feels like to me you're late to this party, because this is a party that's not going away anytime soon. And just because someone has 8 million followers and a blue check doesn't mean they don't have an agenda. We know this with news networks, don't we? Or newspapers, we know it. So now you have to learn it with people who tweet as well.
I mean, I was aware of it in the political spectrum and certain aspects of sports that weren't necessarily reputable reporters cut from the same cloth that Adam Schefter was. This was a dangerous...
What cloth is that, though? I'm sorry to interrupt. What cloth is he cut from?
A traditional media, like from back in the days in the Denver Post. I understand he's an insider now and a television personality, and there's a premium on being first, and he's entered a different kind of world a little bit, but I have always considered Adam Schefter to be a thorough reporter, and this was a rather regrettable example and dangerous example that it could be gamed, that the system can be gamed so easily by an agent like that. I was really disappointed and let down, and disappointed in myself that I don't know, that maybe I was doing other things, but I saw it and it didn't really land until I started seeing other reporting being done. And I think that harm in shaping that initial narrative, I don't think there's any going back from that, David.
I have to ask you to dig deeper on that. Going back for you going back for
I think
Schefter, going back for Cook?
I think I'm doing the work in tracing back my steps and trying to debunk the whole Dalvin Cook is a victim here and going back to taking in. Look, I'm not on the jury, but I'm just doing my internal accounting of everything that I saw, and I really regretted how I processed the initial Adam Schefter report because I took him at his word initially. So I'm going back, but I think most people, like that narrative that he is a victim is out there. Even while we're discussing it, we're mentioning he's the victim, where if it were reported differently, maybe not so much. Maybe we don't even consider that possibility. So I think in terms of public shaping, a lot of damage was done in the initial report by Adam Schefter that was obviously shaped by Dalvin Cook's agent that there's no going back from.
Well, the reason Nothing Personal is a show is because I try to help the audience understand to not do exactly what you're doing, which is to look at an issue and understand exactly why things are being said by the people who are saying them, why they're being said, and questions you can ask yourself prior to forming an opinion. Because everybody has an agenda, and some people, their agenda is so easy to spot that you don't even need a monocle. Other people, you need a magnifying glass and a hammer and a chisel. Adam Schefter is not one of those people. Most of the insiders with millions of followers are insiders because they get the information from people who are on the inside. Let's be very clear. Adam Schefter is on the inside of nothing. The insiders in baseball who claim they are baseball insiders, they're not in the room where it happens. They simply speak to the people who are in the room where it happens, who then relate the information to them exactly as they want that information out. They are teleporters. Is that the right word? I'm missing the word, and Coke is not here. They are used as mediums. Can we use that word? Conduits, yes.
Yeah. Conduits and teleporters, I don't think are synonymous.
Synonyms? I don't know what a teleporter is. Is that when you are one place and then you're someplace else?
Wasn't that a movie with Hayden Christensen? Jumper?
Jumper was fantastic, and that's when he met Rachel Bilson, who I happen to fall in love with during that movie.
I love Rachel Bilson too from the OC. So if you went into my room when I was like 20 years old, and you were looking, no, this isn't a Rachel Bilson thing. This is a Jumper thing. I thank you, Chris. Your mind is in the gutter, young man. Are you still going through puberty? What are you eating? Is that a toasted bagel with cream cheese?
Cinnamon raisin toasted,
Yeah.
double toasted. Let me see if we got a crunch here.
Yeah, you got the crunch there. So I would put valuables. I had a big DVD display. You go to Blockbuster, 2 previously viewed DVDs for $20. I mean, you can't beat that deal. And I would put like passports or important documentation, like Social Security information, inside the DVD sleeves of The Big Hit and Jumper, thinking that if there was ever a break-in, no one would dare steal The Big Hit and Jumper.
I have my stuff in a fake book on the bookshelf where you take the book out and you open it, and it's not really a book. It's got places to put documents.
Yeah.
And I chose a book that was so thick and so boring that anyone who would come in the house and just sort of look around and say, "Ooh, I wonder what kind of book Samson likes," they would never open that book because they would just roll their eyes and say, "Oh my God, that's a totally for show book." I think every house has those, right?
Yeah.
Books that you haven't read that you put on your bookshelf to make believe that you are intellectual and that you've actually read the books.
I love secret contraptions. In my refrigerator, there is a Miller High Life champagne of beer that has been in my fridge for 15 years. You can't drink it. It has a secret compartment, and I keep cash there in case I need to tip a delivery person.
I'm actually going, though, a step further to the books that aren't secret compartments, that are actual books. Here's the best example. If you walk into a house and you see the Odyssey on a bookshelf, and someone says, "Oh, yeah, I read that in high school." No one read the Odyssey in high school. They read the Spark Notes or the Monarch Notes, but you put that on. The Fountainhead is another great example of a book that people want on their bookshelf to look pseudo-intellectual. Makes me laugh, actually.
Chris, you don't have a secret compartment beer
I don't, man. I'm jealous.
for a rainy day?
It's just for tipping. You'd think
never know.
if you were going through all this effort to hide money, it'd be
Yeah.
for something bigger than for tipping.
And I've had like envelopes of like $500 cash when I'm like paying
But there's like
contractors.
$23 in there.
But there's like one can of Miller High Life that you unscrew the top, and there's $8.50 in there.
Wow.
Used to be hairspray you could do that with, deodorant, shampoo. That's actually how people where they'd store their weed.
Yeah.
When you actually had flour.
You're a
instead
movie.
of
You're
vape.
a cinephile, David. What is the best secret compartment in all of cinema? Because I'm gonna go with the shaving cream can from Jurassic Park.
That's a good one with Newman from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
With the little pterodactyls. I have to always go. The best secret compartments are with Batman, because there's so much going on, like behind the shelves of Batman or behind the bookcase, and all of a sudden you're in the Batcave with all that cool stuff with Michael Caine.
Don't you think
that to me is the winner?
Don't you think the utility belt is a little too convenient? That he has a tool for everything. Like, don't you have to? You're limited with a utility belt, right? Some days the shark repellent isn't going to be packed inside the utility belt, but it just so happens that he packs it on the day that he has a shark bite his leg.
As opposed to James Bond is, for an example, who has the exact gizmos that he needs to get out of every possible situation that he finds himself in.
Yeah.
It's not a utility belt. He's got like utility watch or a utility pen where if you take the pen and you put it in a certain way, it burns a hole in a bridge that you're climbing or something.
I went public with my opinion that I really disliked the most recent James Bond movie. I thought it was the worst villain of all time. I wasn't a fan of how they laid the groundwork for the new 007, which then became an old 007 when James Bond came back out of retirement. And now, well, I'm not going to spoil anything else, but what do you think about my idea? And this is to not spoil the most recent James Bond film if you haven't seen it. I think that there's a lot of meat on the bone in previous James Bond films. And you know how in the DC universe, I mean, to call it a universe might suggest that there's any level of thought or organization to it, but you know how there's multiple Batmans now? Robert Pattinson, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton's going to play Batman and again in a Flash sequel. And people just realize, you know, we just like Batman stories. Give us all the Batman stories at the same time. We can handle it. There's a lot of different Jokers. We can handle it. I think for the James Bond franchise moving forward is they can continue telling this story in this certain realm, but they can revisit older James Bond movies and make sequels to Dr. No. How great would that be? You have like 4 different James Bonds actively working at the same time in different periods of time. Like it's Dr. No, but it's super nostalgic because it's set in the time of Dr. No. GoldenEye 2. What do you think?
I'm sorry, are you trying to raise money for that idea?
I think that the James Bond franchise needs to do this.
Is this part of the first look Apple deal that Meadowlark has, that you've gone to Apple and said, listen, I have an idea here.
Thunderball 2, Thunderballs.
I want you to take a first look, if you don't mind, at Dr. Still No.
Yeah, still no.
I think you should do that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to greenlight Thunderballs.
You should say, from the Soviet Union with love.
Again,
we're still in love.
Yeah.
Russia, we're still in love.
Still in Russia, still in love. How about 0007?
90 pussy.
Yeah, look at that. So you're patronizing me a little bit.
I'm just saying that when Apple signed the deal with you, I think they envisioned something slightly better than for your ears only.
Well, it's a first look deal.
Go all day.
It's a first look deal with Apple. So if they pass on this, the world is Netflix's oyster. Honestly, they can, which I think is going to be a title to one of my James Bond sequels. The sequel to The World Is Not Enough. The World Is Your Oyster. Okay. Did you watch a most recent James Bond? Did I talk to you about this? Why I'm a little foggy.
You did not talk to me about it. I actually was reviewing it. I'm going to watch it and review it next week on Nothing Personal.
Okay, so you haven't watched it. So
I've not watched it.
So
yet. It just came out.
Yeah. Well, no, a couple months ago.
No. Well, it's available now for $20 in my theater.
Yeah. I'm leading the witness now a little bit because you're going in with super low expectations. I've already told you that this is the worst Bond villain of all time, and I hated the direction of it. But I'm looking forward to the discourse you and I can have about how they've ruined this franchise.
It's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, well, Remy Malek, Mr.
Oh,
Robot.
well, I don't view him as a villain.
We talked about Remy Malek, and we talked about his star turn in the Pacific and how you should check out. It's Veterans Day, so a good reminder to check out all the Band of Brothers associated projects that Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg put out together. The Pacific often gets ignored when revisiting Band of Brothers, but it's brilliant.
So I was thinking about the show today, and while eating a bagel, giving it my 30 seconds of thought, and it is Veterans Day, and I wanted to try to come up with a top 5 list of the best veterans movies of all time.
Oh, I love this, David. I look forward to your list. Did you put together this top 5 list? Were you successful?
So I did, but I want people to realize that I did this off the top of my head. So there are some issues with it, I'm sure, because given where my brain is currently located, there is a chance that I missed, let's say, the greatest veteran movie of all time that I just didn't have in my head. So when we do these top 5 lists, they're authentic because you don't prep me for
covered
them.
by those.
Did I just hear a voice?
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry.
is that
Chris
a take?
Cody's doing some editing, and he's got raisin in his teeth, and he's just taking a sledgehammer to our routine here.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for coming in early, Chris. Really appreciate it. Proceed, David.
So I wanted to
As
just
we're
say
talking about our
it's-
veterans.
It sounded like Levitard's voice.
Yeah,
to me.
he's doing some editing.
Okay, so I wanted to make it authentic, so I came up with top 5, and it was just off the top of my head. But I think we should do it because Veterans Day, first of all, every day should be Veterans Day.
Here,
Just
here.
like every day should be Father's Day and Mother's Day.
Here, here.
But we choose like one day where you have to call your mother or your father if they're
Yeah,
alive.
there's a thing happening with certain holidays that I think people get in their feelings and overly politicize days like this. You live in this country, and if you want to believe in the best of it, people gave their lives, people left loved ones behind to defend that honor, and obviously, I come from a military family. My grandfather, with his passing, I tried to go through all sorts of hoops to try to get an honor guard at his funeral, and it made me really revisit the service that he had, the brave service that he had in serving in Korea. And this is not a time for this is not a holiday that you should politicize. This is just gratitude and thanks,
There's no doubt.
and that is synonymous, unlike teleportation and conduits.
I'm not sure that it was defending honor. It was defending our ability to do the zany stuff that we do
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
and every week, right? If you think about the Man in the High Castle as just sort of envision what would happen
Yeah.
if we didn't have people.
Would never get made today. Would never get made today. And I'm talking about it like it was made in the 70s. No, that miniseries, The Man in the High Castle, where the whole premise is the Nazis won World War II, wouldn't
Yes.
get made today. Remember when the Game of Thrones creators announced a project for HBO? It was basically the Civil War formed 2 separate countries, the Confederacy and the Union, and like that got stomped out. Never actually got greenlit, and production never started because the reaction to it was so hostile. I don't think The Man in the High Castle would get made today.
Well, I can only tell you that it was an unbelievable 3 seasons. I think it was 3. I watched every one, but the point is that what I was thinking about is the role that veterans play. It's defending democracy. It's making sure that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want to, how we want to do it. That's why I've always felt that I don't have the guts. I don't have the intestinal fortitude. I've never shot a gun or had a gun. And I did shoot a gun once while visiting troops overseas, actually. But some of the best times of my life, Mike, was visiting troops with the Marlins, actually going to them overseas and seeing what they were doing in Bahrain or in Qatar, going to the hospital in Landstuhl and seeing wounded veterans, wounded people, active. They weren't even veterans. They were actively wounded in the hospital. And just feeling like, oh, my God, I work in baseball. What a cushy existence.
So were you able to make your top 5?
Yes.
All right, let's
So
get cracking.
So off the top of my head, here we go. Ready? Number 5. Bradley Cooper in American Sniper. Can we talk for a second about American Sniper?
Yeah, please
and
do.
how-
I haven't gotten around to seeing this one yet.
It's an important movie to
Yeah.
me. I mean, to me, Bradley Cooper is really good as a veteran who comes back. His job during the war was to be a sniper and to protect the men. When you're a sniper, you're up on a rooftop and you're basically protecting your fellow soldiers on the street. And it's a true story about what happens to this guy when he comes back home. And being a sniper can definitely have a deleterious impact on your mental health. And I thought Bradley Cooper did a phenomenal job in this movie.
All right, number four.
Megan Levy.
Never heard of this film.
Megan Levy stars Kate Mara of the Mara family. And she plays a veteran who comes home and she had a bomb dog who was her best friend who basically helped during the war, and they got separated. And then they get reunited back at home. And the story of how they got reunited, if it doesn't impact you, then you really are a bag of rocks, made of rocks, because it impacted me. Megan Levy, check it out if you never have. Number four.
Number three, David.
Number three, one of my all-timers, Anthony Hopkins, Aidan Quinn, Brad Pitt, Julia Ormond, Henry Thomas from E.T., Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall. This is a stretch for the genre, David.
So here's why it's in my head. It really is about what happens to a family when guys come back from the war. It's just an old war because it takes place in the 1800s, so you don't think of it as being a big deal. But the impact to the family of the people returning from the war, what happens during the war, that informs how the entire family dynamics work on that ranch at their log cabin with Anthony Hopkins as the head of family. It is an incredible movie if you've never seen it.
Yeah, it is an incredible movie, and I guess you're right that it's about the war. It's just not because there isn't a super memorable battle scene that's coming to mind that it's hard to wrap my brain around that being a war film.
So I'm not doing top 5 war films.
Okay. Clarify for me.
Okay, this is a top 5 veterans list. List of a movie about veterans and the experience of being home.
Okay. No, that's good clarification. And that opens up a whole new portal.
Yes, because I'm not giving you Platoon or Saving Private Ryan. I view those as war movies.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I apologize for not listening closely.
No worries. I think Cody was eating his bagel in the background with Batard's voice in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, The Deer Hunter.
Classic. Christopher Walken. Classic.
So you've seen it?
I have. I've seen
Okay.
of it. No, I've seen. I saw this movie like about 20 years ago when I was in like a heavy Walken phase. So I don't remember it like I saw it yesterday, but I do remember his performance jumping out.
So the thing about The Deer Hunter is that people are scared to see it because it's older. And so the view is, the special effects aren't good. It's going to not look like it's in 777 HD. But the story of The Deer Hunter, it's an award-winning movie. And if you want to talk about what it's like to come back from a war and what happens to people when they're at war and then when they're home, The Deer Hunter and the surrounding stories of these people with Duvall, et cetera, and Sheen, it's unbelievable, this movie. But it's not as good as the number 1.
All right, what's number 1?
The number 1 veteran movie of all time in honor of all the veterans who have served, who I thank and who Mike thanks, is a movie with Jane Fonda and Jon Voight called Coming Home.
Tell me about it. I've never heard of this film.
Coming Home it's the number 1. So I put it number 1 purposefully. Number 1 because it's the most important veteran movie ever made. Number 2, it is my hope that you will go back and watch it, that everyone who's listening will go back and just give me 2 hours of your life. It's directed by a guy named Hal Ashby, who made a great baseball movie that no one liked called The Slugger's Wife, made a movie with Cat Stevens' music that is one of my all-time favorites called Harold and Maude. This is the same director. Coming Home is about John Voight comes home. He's John Voight, Angelina Jolie's father, comes home and is taken care of by Jane Fonda. And the relationship that develops as people try to adjust to what it's like to no longer be at war. Query, are you at war when you're home? Do you bring the war back with you? How does that manifest itself? The end scene that I'm not going to spoil in Coming Home is in the top 5 most powerful end scenes. And we're not going to do a second top 5 right now because we don't want to take the focus off the veterans. But the end of Coming Home makes the journey so worthwhile, yet it's something that will stay with you the rest of your life.
Well, thank you for that list, David. I'm going to check out a lot of those films. And I've been meaning to talk to you about something that was in the news cycle a lot last week, and now I guess it'll come to a head with wherever OBJ lands. A player that tries to force their way out of an organization by just making a mess in the media. I guess there's no great way to break up. By all indications, OBJ tried to do his best to break up cleanly in the offseason, and the Browns didn't want to divest themselves from him. But making an unholy mess, maybe having LeBron and your dad fight your own battles publicly, ghosting your coach and some teammates. Baker Mayfield to this day still says when asked, have you spoken to Odell? Says no. Those are teammates that went on golf trips together. They were close. They were friends. They hung out a lot in the offseason. Have you had any experience in baseball with the Marlins where one player tries like crazy to force their way out and makes a mess for you? Or because you were the Marlins, you guys operated a certain way and you weren't necessarily under a microscope such as like an NFL team, for example, and you guys had more leverage in that respect?
So the leverage comes from the money, right? So Odell Beckham said to himself, I can work out a deal here. I don't have a lot of guaranteed money left. And frankly, I'm going to make myself such a pain in the neck and such a disruptive force that the football team will have no choice but to do something with me. In baseball, players cannot be that disruptive. So think about on a basketball court, if you're a disruptor, you could take the ball and just start chucking. You could not run any plays. You could impact things way more. In football, you can drop passes. You cannot run the right routes. You can make it dangerous for your teammates. In baseball, if you're to be disruptor, what does that mean? What it mostly means is you're bad in the clubhouse. It means that you don't show up to community events. It means that you try to get the players against the front office. It means that you bitch and moan that you don't make enough money. But it's not like you go up to the plate and you purposefully swing and miss and strike out, or when a ball is hit your way, you let the ball go under your glove or you miss the catch. So I don't view baseball as the right venue for that type of disruption. Plus, it doesn't work well because what we do with players who complain, it's what Giancarlo Stanton was told when he said no to the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals when he was traded to both those teams, and he said, no, I'm going to wait for the Yankees and Dodgers. He was told, that's great. But guess what? You can stay here for all we care. You're going to get your money either way, but you're just not going to play. And you're going to be surrounded by 24 people who also can't play because you're going to take up all the payroll. So it's totally up to you. So in baseball, that's really what happens more when people are grumpy and angry and want to trade. We try to either accommodate them or just make them sulk, but we're not going to let them be disruptive.
As a Browns fan, I kind of just wanted to let OBJ sulk and be like, okay, well, we have enough data here that suggests we're better off without you. We're not going to give you what you want. You think that you can hijack our season? We set a dangerous precedent if we let you just go, because the next time we sign someone to a big money deal and they just want to go and make a mess of it, we've already proven that, oh, you can get your way. You can push us over. So part of me initially was like, well, if he's quitting on us, screw that. You can sit out the rest of the season, bro. And thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and I'm not emotionally running the Cleveland Browns. And while I do not wish Odell the best because he quit on my team, he decided that we weren't good enough for his skill set, which was particularly confusing to me because, again, the stats that I outlined, I'm I'm hurt because he quit on me, but at the same time, it just didn't work. And I hope he doesn't live to regret it. Well, actually, I kind of do. I have nothing nice to say about Odell Beckham. I just decided I was trying to do the public nice thing, and I'm just hurt. I'm a hurt fan.
Do you think that any part of this is because of the level of player empowerment that has started to build in all the sports, and it is now at a crescendo, and then it will come to be an inflection point, and then it will be decreased?
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that OBJ appeared to have turned to LeBron James to fight his battles. LeBron James, someone who claims to be a Browns fan, and then put that out there and had the gall to come back and support the Browns after he was nuking that locker room with one free OBJ tweet. I was really disappointed in all of that.
Are you learning something about LeBron, by the way, over the past few years? Have you been paying attention at all to LeBron James and the way he operates at all?
Yeah, I've been paying attention to LeBron James. I work in sports.
Okay. So LeBron James, the hero, right? The absolute greatest, the GOAT. He is one of the most manipulative teammates and players ever with how he operates when he is on a team. So just to be clear that, and I'm not talking about politically, because I'm all for what he wants to do. I don't care if players shut up and dribble or shut up and talk. Do whatever you want. I want you to use your platform. You know that's a big thing on Nothing Personal. I'm talking about in terms of the empowerment as it relates to the running of your team. LeBron is one of the great player executives in his own mind. I want him to run a team for real because he'll be Michael Jordan so fast, your head will spin.
Yeah. I mean, last night's disappointing Heat result notwithstanding, there were obviously circumstances that played into the result, but also the Lakers who are without LeBron James. So credit to them for winning that. Even with Russell Westbrook, who I don't think will work. I think the early season samples kind of suggest that it won't work, that the better direction would have been Buddy Hield, where that was the direction the Lakers organization wanted to go. And LeBron James put his foot down and said, no, Russell Westbrook. It's a very odd roster construction. It was a super odd roster construction his first year with the Lakers, in which they missed the playoffs. I think his executive knowledge probably isn't as great, but it's a great equalizer when you can just play on the court with LeBron James and he can overcome LeBron the GM.
But he wants to be with his friends. I don't blame him. He's 30. What is he, 36, 37, 38 now? And if he's going to be on the road away from family, away from doing whatever he does,
no, he's
earned
it. He's earned it.
Right. He wants to be with friends. No, well, hold on. I don't agree with you at all.
You don't think?
He's earned what? He's earned the right to
He's earned the right to decide at 36 years old he wants to play with his friends, just like I feel like I've earned just by sitting in front of a microphone and be like, all right, good luck with that. I don't think that's necessarily going to work. He's been fairly consistent about player empowerment since the moment he left Cleveland. That's a hidden agenda that Pat Riley was referencing when he said, beware smiling faces with hidden agendas. And I think that creeped up a little bit with the BS that he pulled with OBJ. It's one thing to do that with the Lakers, just like stay out of the Browns locker room. OBJ, like that shit matters. When LeBron talks about, anytime LeBron says, man, Dearness Johnson showed up, Donovan Peoples-Jones showed up, the press in Cleveland talk to these players and they light up. He obviously has a ton of influence. He is a tastemaker. And for him to start crossing streams, going into other sports and manipulate the Cleveland Browns locker room as a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm like, you're supposed to be with us. Aren't we supporting our guys? Don't we want this to work out with OBJ on the Browns? Like, why are you a divisive force here?
Please make no mistake about it. LeBron James could care less about Cleveland Browns fans.
I don't think he really cares about fans generally at this point. I mean, he let it flash when he lost to the Mavericks. At the end of the day, they got to go on living their lives, and I'll go on living mine, which basically said, you're poor, I'm rich.
Oh, I didn't take it that way.
Well, no, that was exactly what he was trying to get at. He's like,
that's funny.
You
think that was a money comment?
He's like, you're you sitting in your car for 45 minutes, commuting to work, living your life, hating your job, and I'm LeBron James. And while this is difficult, I'm a billionaire.
Oh, but by the way, if that's how you took it and you still have any respect for him, that makes the 1.2 billion bleep you seem sort of, because I was kidding.
Separate art from artist.
Kidding.
I separate art from artists. Well, you were kidding. I saw someone scream that at you at the New York Marathon, by the way. I really enjoyed
Do you know I
that.
didn't hear it?
You didn't hear it?
No. So I heard, I got called out during the New York Marathon 7 times for nothing personal, saying, oh my God, you're running so slowly, but it's nothing personal. That type of stuff. And I thanked everyone, and I stopped several times to take pictures with people who listened to Nothing Personal. But this person yelled Samson, and I just turned around and gave like a thumbs up and kept going because I was on the other side of the road. It was only later when Coca, the producer of Nothing Personal, said, did you hear that person talk to you about the 1.2? I said, absolutely not. It's so crowded and there's so much noise you don't hear it. But it was pretty funny.
What do you think about this? A sequel to 1983's Never Say Never Again. Never Say Never Again. Again.
That's not a Bond movie.
Yes, it is.
I don't think it is.
Yes,
With
it
Sean
is.
Connery?
Yeah. And it was weird because Sean Connery had left the franchise for a little bit and he came back.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an official Bond movie. You're going to have to check on
It's
that. I loved Never Say Never Again,
So
but
you're
I
saying-
don't think it's an official Bond movie.
All right, so I'm on the Wikipedia page because there might be something to this. The film is based on the 1961 James Bond novel Thunderball, but there was also a Thunderball movie. Are you saying that this isn't an official 007 movie?
I believe this is not a broccoli-produced Bond movie.
This was produced by Jack Schwartzman, who I got. Can someone help me out with this? Can you find out, Roy, if Never Say Never Again is like a proper Bond film? I Googled James Bond films and it showed up. And it's got Sean Connery and it's based off of Ian Fleming's 007 books. So I'm trying to figure out how this is not a James Bond movie.
It's one of the great mysteries of life, and people get very confused, which is exactly how lawsuits happen, by the way, because when you Google something and you just assume it to be true, and because you have Sean Connery, you just assume it's an actual James Bond movie. But that's a franchise that's owned by people.
MGM. That was owned by MGM famously. And this is but the poster says Sean Connery is James Bond. That's what the poster says.
That's a true statement, that he may have played a character named James Bond.
Man, so this isn't part of that series. Wow, so you know all about this, huh? Are you a big Bond guy?
I love James Bond. I just don't think that you should. It was a great bit at the beginning of this segment, but Never Say Never Again. I just wanted to point out to you that wouldn't be part of what you could do.
Kim Basinger was in this film.
God, did I love 9.5 Weeks.
Don't say it in that voice. What's your favorite Kim Basinger movie?
L.A. Confidential.
It's a great one. Yeah, it's a great one. On that note, what are you reviewing this week, David?
I just did the top 5 I want to review coming home.
So you're
did
reviewing
that,
nothing
unless
else?
it was edited out.
Yeah,
I think that is on Veterans Day.
So you don't have a review?
Oh, I've got a million movies I could talk about.
All right, give
but
me a. So I'll
talked
do
all
the
about
setup
coming
where I
home.
tell people to support David Sampson. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Sampson. He's doing this thing where he's running while no one's chasing him that I don't necessarily get for very long distances. For good causes, though, in most cases. So credit to him.
Wait, what are the bad causes?
Well,
Are you
no,
saying that I've raised money for bad charities?
no. Well, do you ever run a marathon just to run it, to not raise money or something?
No.
No?
No.
Well, look at you. Congrats. That's good stuff.
Well, listen, there's people I love dying all the time, and they have diseases, and there's people who I don't love who just contact me and say, hey, I need help for this or that.
Right.
There's so much misery in the world
There is.
that it's hard to even think about. So if I can run a marathon and raise money to try to find a cure for things, why wouldn't I do that?
Would you consider running on behalf of raising money for our sequel to Thunderballs?
No, but I love the concept. See,
Mm-hmm.
that's a winning title. Better than Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
Right?
Thunderballs.
Thunderballs.
Yeah.
Rollerballs.
But you don't like that idea of like revisiting some of the other books and just like giving a sequel. That way you can have Idris Elba can be your James Bond. Henry Cavill can be your James Bond. You know, you can just go wild, go nuts, have a million James Bonds.
But they weren't. The Batman were not Batman all at the same time. They were consecutive.
Sure
George
they
Clooney,
are.
Christian Bale. No, they were not at the same time.
Look at this moment in time right now. We got Pattinson, Affleck. Jesus, I couldn't fight off the phlegm. Pattinson, Affleck, and Michael Keaton. all playing Batman.
I'm not following what you're saying.
Right now, this very moment, there are films in production with Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, and Robert Pattinson all donning the cape and cowl of Batman, all playing Bruce Wayne.
So the original Batman is back. Michael Keaton is back to, is he just an older Batman?
He's gonna show up in the Flash sequel. Flash goes so fast that he runs himself into a different universe. And in this universe, it's basically Tim Burton's Batman universe. And he visits with an older Bruce Wayne. Or at least we're led to believe an older Bruce Wayne.
Okay, but that's totally different than having 4 people play current Batman.
No, because Ben Affleck is playing Batman I still think in projects, and you got Robert Pattinson. You got Jared Leto still technically involved in the Joker universe and that whole DC thing. Still technically, I think he's hanging on by a thread, while Joaquin Phoenix plays the Joker and wins an Oscar. People like him.
But you can't have Roger Moore as James Bond because he's dead.
No, but you have someone assume the mantle. It's like, okay, Thunderball ends, and we continue the story for Thunderballs. And we just suspend disbelief because obviously it's not the year of Thunderball. We're revisiting this, but we're making it a period piece. So you have like Idris Elba being like the Sean Connery version of James Bond with all the 1960s technology, but it's a period piece. But it's a sequel to Dr. No.
So I love where your head's at, except it would only work if it's not a period piece because they'd have to make the sequel for today so they could have the gadgets because that's part of what attracts people to James Bond is the new gadgets.
No, it's a menu item. If you want the sequel for today, you go and do that. By that logic, no one's ever going to make another World War II movie ever again. There's so many stories to be... Yeah, there's so many stories to be told.
They're made totally differently.
No.
World War II movies are made, but with totally... Look at last year. We had Dunkirk. All these Oscar Academy nominated movies. Dunkirk, The Darkest Hour.
By your logic, you're eliminating period pieces from all of cinema. I can't get by this. It's perfectly within reason that we can have a period piece action film with all sorts of campy James Bond technology back in the day. I love that. We can do a modern. We can do that with a modern twist.
Pieces. You don't have period pieces that are technologically based, though.
All right, you're out of Thunderballs. I don't
need
this
I'm
negative
in on
energy.
The concept.
You're out. You're out.
You know what? Can you give me a first look at Thunderballs?
No, that goes to Apple contractually. You can get the second look at my Thunderballs. All right, give me something else.
There won't be a second look. They're going to buy Thunderballs so fast that they're going to roll all over your chin. That's how great Thunderballs is as an idea.
Graphic picture in my mind. All right, David, give me something else to review here as we can end this week's episode. Follow David Sampson on Twitter at David P. Sampson. He is the host of Nothing Personal. I've largely made it through this episode without choking on my own phlegm. Shout out to Whitty for teaching me how to make tea.
Can I tell you what I watched last night in the middle of the night?
Go for it. I'll tell you. I'll go first. I watched the Brady Bunch movie. Look, that was kind of a period piece with a modern twist because it was made in the 90s. They were operating in this 90s world, but hey, there's this 70s family in the middle of the 90s. Is that with
Gary Cole?
Great job by Gary Cole. Great job. And Greg Brady, I'm like, where do I know this guy from? I know this guy. I know this guy. What is it about this guy? And I've been watching The Little Mermaid a lot because I have a 2-year-old daughter. He's the voice of Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. About that.
Do you remember how unbelievable it was when people discovered that Robert Reed was gay?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a
No, I don't.
major
I
thing
just
in
said,
the world.
I said, yeah, but is this
Do you
the
know who that
original
is?
Mike Brady?
So Robert Reed played the original father, Mike Brady,
Yeah.
in the actual TV series.
Oh, wait,
And-
hang on. I've got a specialist.
I actually know him, aside from the Brady Bunch, I know him from Roots. He was the slave owner that that whipped LeVar Burton, Kunta Kinte in that movie. So
That is correct.
bit of a ill will to him on that one.
Thank you, Roy.
That
You're
was
welcome.
a major piece of casting, as you recall.
What a
back then,
lane
Roy.
for you, Roy.
Yeah.
No, it was shocking to see the patriarch of the Brady Bunch, of the Brady's, being a racist slave owner. That's kind of weird.
Shocking.
In
He
all the
didn't wanna be
Reed facts,
typecast.
in all the Reed facts that I just learned in the last 30 seconds, that was the most shocking.
I don't know why. I thought the most shocking one was your need to fake that you knew who he was talking about.
Look, man,
and it's a jerk move by him by not just calling him the dad in the Brady Bunch, which is how everyone knows him.
Yeah, I had to piece it together, and I was trying to keep it moving, and then, I was just being transparent with the audience. I was bullshitting. I had no idea that he was gay. Was that a big controversy?
So yeah, of course, yes, it was
Back
then. But
then?
Batard, we were talking about, you may have missed it because you weren't here doing the show, but we were talking about the dad of the Brady Bunch, Gary Cole. He said, I just watched the Brady Bunch movie last night, and then I say, Robert Reed, what does he think I'm talking about? Thunderballs? Of course he thinks I'm talking about the father in the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I pieced it together. So I thought I could get away with a lie, and then I decided, no, I think honesty might be endearing in this point. And then we got Royce Fact, Racked.
It was a big deal when he was, first of all, when he was cast as the slave owner in Roots, it was a big deal because all of those Brady Bunch people from that TV show were trying not to be typecast. And it turns out that that was just the beginning of people who are in these sitcoms and they become that character forever, right? Henry Winkler is the Fonz, and he's tried to not be.
No,
but
he's not.
He's
He's had a very solid career, Henry Winkler.
a great career, but
Yeah.
he's known as Fonzie.
Have you ever watched?
Henry Winkler's
Have you watched
brilliant,
Barry?
by the way.
Have you watched Barry?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I
He's
think
brilliant.
he's a coach
but
for like people of a certain age. He's a coach from Waterboy.
Interesting. I wouldn't associate him as that.
I think
ever.
if you showed people a picture now, more people would say Waterboy than the Fonz.
Samson, that's a bad example by you only because Peter Brady is basically, or I'm sorry, yes, Peter Brady is known only exclusively almost as that.
Do you mean Mike Brady?
Even though Mike Brady, excuse me, as Roy brings in Roots, I think Henry Winkler's had an accomplished career that spans generations, and people would know him for different things.
I'm not going to take it further because he's the first person that came to mind going back to a 70s sitcom of people who are typecast, but it really is not the Fonz, Henry Winkler. It's not Ron Howard, who's had such an accomplished directorial career and acting career. I'm trying to think of another one who is so typecast they can't get out of it. Maybe Christy Alley typecast, although she's a bad example. She's a Scientologist, sort of crazy woman. So there are other examples, but the Brady Bunch people are certainly one of the great examples of that. And it was a big deal, Mike, to get back to it when it got out. And it only got out after he died. And that became sort of in the rearview mirror a big thing.
Well, Rock Hudson was also gay. And if you watch his film, I highly recommend the film Giant with James Dean in it. I revisit that film every couple of years. Big in scope, cinematic masterpiece. He was gay. And if you watch his films, he was always portrayed as this man's man. So it was very shocking.
I believe that is the one that shocked America the most, I think, David. The Rock Hudson one, because of the veneer of how he played and because America wasn't exactly talking about that stuff. I think Rock Hudson was about as shocked as America has ever been on one of those.
Kind of an interesting gap in my pop culture knowledge that I didn't notice the Brady Bunch, but I went back to Rock Hudson.
That is a gap, and that's understandable because the Brady Bunch probably was when you were alive, but not sort of focused.
I wasn't alive when the Brady Bunch series. I was
You
born
weren't
in
alive
85.
in the 70s?
Is this a joke? I have a very contemporary haircut.
So Rock Hudson was on the cover of People magazine. Do you remember that, Dan?
I do
Being on
not.
the cover of People used to be a big deal.
Well, it is
And
now again too. Did you see the
With
sexiest
Paul Rudd,
man?
sexiest man
Yeah,
alive.
I was talking shit. Like, what's the appeal of Paul Rudd? The whole thing is that he's like the everyman, and then I saw these photos.
This
and
shirt,
and
yes.
the bone structure in his cheekbones, and Zaddy.
Well, but the body as well, though.
Zaddy got all my lips smiling.
He's pretty.
You look like Paul Rudd, Mike.
I don't. No, I don't
You
have that.
do
bone
actually.
Nah,
structure.
Tony Romo looks more like Paul
Yeah,
Rudd than
yeah.
Mike does.
Yeah, I don't look like Paul Rudd. You think I look like Paul Rudd?
No.
Is this
no.
so you white, you Ben Affleck type of thing from
Yes,
role
it is,
models?
actually.
Which
I
started-
just saw Colbert dumping water on Paul Rudd, and so Paul Rudd was doing a faux photo shoot where he was trying to be sexy and failing, and his shirt all wet. He looks very fit.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets that side thing. I got to get on that Ant-Man thing. Also, I would never appear on television with someone just wetting my hair for you to see. Like, because I told you, this is all smoke and mirrors, baby, over here. Like, I can't let anyone see that. Never. I'm going into
Because
the
it's too
ocean with a
thin?
hat. Yeah.
Are you really worried about thinness?
Yeah.
Why? You think it impacts your ratings? or
Because
your
I'm super
Q
vain
rating?
and I'm worried about what people think of me. Duh.
Why don't you lean into it?
Your ratings?
No.
You think he's worried about his ratings?
Q rating.
No. Me being bald does nothing for me. Me being like someone that's looked at, man, that guy has cool hair. I think that helps.
So then that's exactly right. So you're saying exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm
That
not gonna
you
lean
believe
into
that
it.
it's not your talent as a producer and on-air personality. It is the look of you with hair that is causing people to engage with your content.
I'm exactly like Odell Beckham Jr. I was maybe good in 2016, and now I just have a cool haircut and people like me.
I don't think I could handle Mike thinning in a way that was like overtly Ron Howard hair.
Well, then don't stand me under a fog light. I'm telling you that right now.
If that were so, though, because all of you guys are still young people to me in every way. You cannot.
Just young by comparison, man. I'm in that mirror every day saying, God, time, you cruel beast.
Do you use product?
Do I use product? Like what, to salvage what I got?
No.
Oh yeah, I'm like Amazon priming some shit from Brazil. I did like a doctor consultation over the internet, and they're like, if this makes your anxiety worse, let me know. And I'm like, it's a little worse, but I'll wait to see if results happen, because hair is more important than my mental health at this point, because I think there's a correlation.
I did not know this about you. I did not know
This is
that your hair
incredible.
was thinning. Roy, did you know? Did you know that Mike? You sit next to him
You don't have
single
to answer that, Roy.
every single day.
Just know that whatever you say has consequences.
No, I never noticed his hair.
My
thinning.
guy.
Nobody
You
has.
say that your
Phew.
hair is
I've
more
al-
important.
I've known
than
him
your
for a very
mental
long
health?
time.
I've only noticed because he talks about it a lot. Like anytime the subject comes up, he'll admit that like he isn't
I
strong
think
in
it's
that area.
self-fulfilling prophecy here.
Do you think this is humanizing in any way, or just this makes me seem even more vain than you probably already
No, it's.
assumed
I
I
think.
was?
I think it's. I believe you're showing both things that are less than the bad hair situation, and admitting that you're vain about the bad hair situation. I think that's endearing, humanizing.
yeah.
More humanizing than your more real character of "I'm never wrong."
You're probably right about that. Just for the record, I'm never wrong. And I don't know if you've seen Justin Herbert lately, but I may take back my apology to him.
Nah, you're wrong about your hair.
How
about
you
that?
are wrong about your hair. You're
Maybe
concealing.
Maybe that's
Roy-
what he's doing here. He knows it's a little bit of a problem, so he's flying by just so we tell him, no, Mike, your hair's
But
fine.
all of
little
us, if we were on a game show and he weren't here and we were to be asked, how's Mike's hair situation, we would all say he's got great hair.
Yeah.
I think.
Never
guys are so
say
nice.
never again. Again.
Again. Again.
Thunderballs.
Thunderballs. You like that one?
Meh.
If you were gonna go with a golden eye, do you like my, like, not a golden eye thing? I'm sorry. I'm in my mid-30s, so like James Bond at first is always gonna be referenced as golden eye, and then I'll start deducing 007 James Bond films,
Right.
just because that video game still slaps.
hmm
Do you stand behind my idea that with the James Bond franchise, they should just revisit some of the older films and start making sequels?
Sure. Yeah, that would be fun.
We can get Tina Turner to sing the songs again and all that.
Mike, would
Yeah.
you be willing to assess the Daniel Craig career, because you were disappointed by his last Bond? Would you be willing to say, based on, he started with Casino Royale, right?
Yeah, solid actor.
No, but would you be willing to say that from the first 10 minutes as Bond, his was a slow descent into terrible?
I'm willing to accept that. Yeah,
From he started going down
he owes his entire legacy to
those first 10 minutes.
Well, that and him like getting out of the ocean in that Speedo. I mean, once
In
again,
the
Zaddy had all
Bahamas.
my lips grinning.
smiling.
No, I used smiling already.
Do you have him above Timothy Dalton?
Yeah, Timothy Dalton was not considered a good James Bond, right?
No, but I'm asking you.
Do I have Craig
you-
ranked? Yeah, I do.
Do you have Craig ranked above Pierce Brosnan?
No, I don't.
But that's
Golden
bias
Eye. I'm a
because
child of the
your
Golden Eye
age.
generation. Slappers only.
Right, that's the reason.
Paintball.
So I
big
have
head
Daniel
mode.
Craig above Sean Connery, but below
Whoa!
Roger Moore.
Whoa. Oh, Sean Connery. Speaking of someone that had thinning hair that no one really realized because he had a toupee. I read in the Colin Jost book, and we're going to review this on One Mystery Crate because we did a book club. He revealed, and this was just me doing a deduction, he revealed that there was one host on SNL that insisted he wasn't wearing a toupee. and went to the length of when he went to wardrobe to get fitted, because that show has a million wigs, to get fitted for wigs, that they put a bald cap on over his toupee and then put on the wig because he insisted that he wasn't bald. And it has to be Kevin Spacey. It just has to be.
We should call him and just ask.
Yeah, he's like, it got ridiculous because sometimes you wear wigs underneath wigs because you have to quickly take one off to go to the next sketch. And he said at like one point he had like 7 different layers. He was like a Big Mac of wigs because he just refused to admit that he was wearing a toupee.
So he won't name it in the book, but you think if you call him, he'll name it on the show?
Yeah, I think if I had, especially considering what's happened to Kevin Spacey's reputation, I'm surprised that he didn't reveal that when he volunteered that Russell Crowe left SNL with probably the worst taste in everybody's mouth. Vegemite. Australian humor. We like to have fun. We like to have fun here. We like to have fun.
Work.
See you later, Samson. We do like to have fun here.
What I gave him was a classic slap in the butts. Okay, that's what I do it to Mike every single morning. Been doing it for years.
Okay, this is what happened, and you guys didn't see any of this, but I wish that Lewis had been in here with his camera and had gotten the angle that I had. I'm having a conversation with Mike Ryan, who has just learned how to make tea thanks to Chris Whittingham because he wanted to learn something. Whittingham taught him, and so he had a scalding hot cup of tea in his hand. And I was talking to Mike about working with people, doing some creative stuff, and he was in the middle of the sentence. I just think I'd be happiest collaborating with people who are smart. And as he hasn't finished the thought, he's in the middle of the thought, Stugotz bursts into the room, hits his elbow, sends scalding water over his hands. He's arrived late, and he slaps Stugotz, slaps him on the ass, and then walks out and says, "Mike, come here, teach me how to make tea." As Mike is holding,
let's collaborate.
As Mike is holding a hand burning from boiling water and a face burning from resentment.
Man, that's like 2 HR violations right there.
It was Stugotz, and totally oblivious.
What?
Like, it is an HR violation.
A slap of the fanny?
A slap of the fanny. Yes, that's an HR violation.
Yeah, I won't file it. You're good with me.
Thank you, Mike.
But the hand is hurting still. Second consecutive day I've burned my hand. This one's all your fault. The comedic timing of me longing to work with someone smart.
He was in the middle of the sentence. It's like something I would have written. But then what Mike said, that if Mike said to me, if my hand wasn't hurting so much, I would be laughing. And I'm like, you didn't have the vantage point of seeing your own face, because I saw both the burn of his hand and the bleep off, goddamn it, Stugotz again. Some sort of thing where you win, funny in your wake, and what you leave is ashes and burnt crust. Like I mean, it was a moment of art that I witnessed because Mike was filled with hate, fire, and love.
I didn't realize that when I was introducing Mike and the gang to tea, that this was going to become a dangerous habit.
Dangerous game.
I love it.
That water
your
is
fault.
hot.
Great.
I know you warned me. You said the water to make tea is hot, but I just casually went in lefty, because you know I'm a righty.
Yeah.
Dangerous game. Yeah, hot water all over my hand day one. Learned my lesson.
Sorry.
But now I've learned my lesson to not hold a cup of hot water around Stugotz, because anything can happen.
You should sue.
Me?
There isn't a jury in the
It'd
world.
be so good.
There isn't a jury in the world.
It'd be so good if Stugotz sued Meadowlark because of
Mike's in the way.
These studios are tight, Dan.
They are. There's not a lot of space here. Did you guys watch Lakers Heat last night? Or
No, absolutely not. Way
At
too late.
10:30?
No,
Sleep, man.
No LeBron.
Stayed up for the whole
halftime,
thing for some
Jimmy
reason.
Jimmy
Father.
Butler.
You
Yeah,
got
Sun
Father.
goes
kids
down at
retired.
4.
Who won? I mean,
I lost.
Wake up early to show
I
up here.
woke up to find out I lost a parlay.
Action.
Oh, I got
Tough way to wake up.
Lakers
Perhaps-
plus 135. You know what I mean?
I heard-
Perhaps the worst way to wake up, to be honest with you.
I heard Duncan Robinson was on some bullshit.
I heard. I love that as if it's a rumor.
Did they win?
like something that
So
could
this
be
is a
looked
stone
up.
cold fact.
Just
He was on some bullshit.
let's back up for a second here, because I can't believe that our entire sports show it's now too late. We got so many dads around here and everything else that Whittingham is the only one gutting his way. Oh, Chris Cody did as well through a Lakers Heat game that was a lot of fun. And it's just great how old the Lakers actually are already. And most of our shows slept through it, but Jessica snuck in something that I hope America is not sleeping on. Maction is crazy. All the overs are hitting, and everything that's happening in Maction. I don't think that college football has had a better evolution than Maction saying, we get Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We're about to teach you who Central Michigan and Ball State is.
I was just listening to a college football podcast I really like. It's called Split Zones Duo. My friends from SB Nation are on it, and they were talking about Maction on the episode this week and about how the last 3 seasons there's been a surprise MAC winner. And there's so much parity in Maction that it's almost like, is this actually good for Maction? Because there hasn't been a team like Northern Illinois in 2012 that stood out the way Cincinnati has in the group of 5. But every single game, it's been impossible to bet this year.
But we were talking about earlier this week, Mike Ryan and Whittingham were longing that for the University of Miami to matter that the way Texas A&M did. And I think Maction has this great identity working in the shadows and gutters in these games that are hard to find, and the camera work is shoddy because they're not spending the same kind of money that big time college football is. So I might not get the replay. I thought of this the other day when Jokic was doing his press conference. You guys notice that the Denver background, it just seems like there's a film on it, like from Jacksonville. Yeah, that's Maction.
Yeah, the varying degrees of picture quality in college football, like that's how you know you got a bad game. But all the MAC turf is that shiny, fake turf that the light reflects off of. It's like the way that the Saints games used to look, the way that the Colts games look now.
Yes, the Colts field. What is wrong with their
just
field?
Not at all aesthetically pleasing. Just please change this because I don't want the light reflecting back into my face when I'm watching this dreck.
It is crazy, though, that like Maction has a monopoly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But yesterday when I was going to turn on the game, I know like college basketball just started, so maybe that's an anomaly. But Maction was like the 50th option on the ESPN app. It was every single college basketball game, basketball, and then Maction.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays, this conference decided, give us a televised game. And now they're going to work in the shadows of all this TV money underneath the SEC. And they're going to be able to make a minor league beneath the minor league that is televised. That's just programming on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when people are still starved. Gamblers are starved for any football.
That's what it feels like to me. It's not about the TV networks. That is programming for gamblers. I every week
always has been
on the app.
Yeah.
Oh, but
there's a parlay I get offered.
Everybody better be doing that now. Like everyone better get in that game. Those things all have value now. Like get in the game of, are you going to make programming for gamblers? Because gamblers are, you see Stugotz in our field, in the audio field, the things that are getting traction during football season are all gambling related. People want to know how to make money. It's like a business arm has sprouted in the sports audio field where people have realized, it's not like those touts that used to be on AM radio.
I miss touts.
I love
No, you
Wayne
don't.
Roots.
No, you won't.
love that
I
man.
miss touts on my Sunday morning after sports reporters. It was like this lull. I wanted more football coverage, and guess who was there for me? Touts with bad graphics.
I used to take all the tout money when I ran $7.90 the ticket. Oh man, they paid so much money to be on Sunday at 5 a.m. It was ridiculous.
We had a tout. So the last radio show I did was the afternoon show on 790 in 2016. We had a tout on who went by the nom de plume Joe Rocco, and he came on and he tried to say the name Indomitian Sue, and he pronounced it Jamaican Stew. And this is the guy that you're supposed to get gambling advice from.
So what?
It was mortifying. I hid under the table while he was still on the air.
And that guy will go into a microphone, and because no one's calling him on it, he'll do what Stugotz would do in similar circumstances. 99 out of 100. I've got 99 out of 100. If you just call this number over here, I'll give you my deadlock $50 lock of the month. And I am 99.
You're going to pay your rent with this bet.
It's always a 5-star.
And he's screaming at you sometimes. The biggest personalities were demanding it. That is not what gambling audio is anymore.
I loved calling those numbers just to see if they would give my friends and I different picks. I lost like hundreds of dollars, which to a 19-year-old meant a lot because we thought we had it for sure on Pacific. Because when we called that number, they both gave us Pacific.
Oh boy! But what do you mean if, Mike? I mean that was the
That's what they do,
formula.
yeah.
Yes.
Give some people Pacific, give the other half Pepperdine.
They'll call you next week.
Yeah.
The winners will call you next week, and maybe the losers.
It's such a great scam.
Fast track 20 years later, and God damn it, Gardner Webb, you screwed me last night.
It is not what gambling audio is now, but it is smart of this conference ahead of its time decided, hey, these people are going to be so addicted to football that the over on these games is going to be 60 and we're going to keep scoring 70 and 80 points in a game. And we're just running up and down the field. And it's all gambling content on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Stugotz, because you're just trying to get from Monday to Thursday on your football fix.
Right. Maction is a bridge. It's a bridge from Monday Night Football until Thursday night. That's really what it is. It's super smart. It's a really good idea, and I'm surprised more conferences kind of haven't followed their path, you know? Creating their own night, creating their own thing. The smaller conferences, because it's super smart.
I've loved Mac from the days of Ben Roethlisberger playing with Miami, Ohio on a random weeknight while you have school.
Yeah.
You sneak in Ben Roethlisberger carrying a Miami, Ohio team to the great nights of Dan LeFever.
Oh, Dan LeFever.
Fever.
The pride of Lisle, Illinois.
Chris Cody, I can't believe that you stayed up late into the night when you had to get up and slog your way into work today for Lakers Heat. Did you enjoy it? Because I
Who won?
Went to overtime.
The Lakers won in overtime.
Oh.
LeBron did not play, and Jimmy
Ooh.
Butler was hurt in
And it was
early in
foul
the game.
trouble.
Malik
Okay.
Monk carrying the Lakers.
Yeah, that was the
hate
big
that.
story there.
He does that once a year.
And it's always to the Heat.
It's always against the Heat.
He does it twice a year. It's to the Heat.
If I'm being honest, it was one of those ones where I started the game, fell asleep on the couch, woke up about mid-third quarter, finished it out. I was like, there's nothing worse than a West Coast game overtime. I was rooting for us to lose in regulation. I was like, come on, just get this over with.
Really?
I'm just, come on. It's literally past 1 a.m.
Did Duncan miss free throws?
He did.
He
He
did.
went 1 of 3 in a vital moment at the charity stripe.
He's been bad this season. Yeah, it has not been a good contract so far. And
It's 11 games. 11 games.
Yeah, no, and he was bad to start last season. Then he kind of turned it on in the end, but it was
I feel like
that
the bubble playoffs revealed that you don't really want to be relying on Duncan
I don't
Robinson.
trust that guy. I don't trust that guy at all.
Well, he comes out like they had to switch some. Like they wanted to put what's the guy from Turkey's name?
You're at 7.
They put him in
He balled out, right?
late to get a rebound when they were going to get the ball back, and they left Kyle Lowry in to. They needed a 3, and they left Lowry in and took Duncan out. So
Yeah.
like, he's the first one to go. He was only playing because Jimmy got hurt.
Yeah, kid's got to believe in himself a little bit more. Amin's been on this wagon a little bit, like getting, oh wow, LeBron shouted me out, and like, oh, I'm just this long shot that made the NBA. No, you're out on the court, dude.
A podcaster.
In his
Podcaster? Did I say podcast?
No, I'm saying Duncan Robinson. He's like focusing too much on podcasts. Is what I'm saying.
Wow. I would listen to a podcast though. As
So
an
would
aside.
Chris Cody. I thought he was thinking of podcasts,
We
and
do a
that's why he said that.
Podcast for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, what are you, pumpkin?
Pumpkin, apple,
I don't do the.
pecan.
I think I'm with this Mike Schur thing.
Pecan.
Hot fruit, not with it.
Sweet potato.
I love hot fruit.
Mm,
Sweet
yeah.
potato
Go
pie.
sweet potato pie.
Yes.
Yes.
Cake is better than pie.
Yeah,
We should do a
You
pie
are a
off.
jerk.
cake for breakfast.
Roy, you think pie is better than cake?
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
Yes, Roy.
No,
It depends on
Absolutely.
the occasion.
You
It
are
depends
Obviously,
on
we
the
need a good
occasion.
cake. Obviously,
Yes.
we're looking at
Publix.
top echelon of each of these categories. I'd
course.
rather have a top echelon cake than a top echelon pie.
2 years ago, I had a birthday pie.
What
Yeah.
kind?
That was just a statement of fact.
That was a statement
he was
of fact.
giving you.
Tell
Here.
us more, Roy.
He was
This show
giving you
provided me
the-
with 2 birthday pies. This show.
That's not the time for a pie. That's the time for a cake. Thanksgiving is time for pie, not cake.
Roy, that was
Get what I'm
amazing
saying?
the way that you flaunted your pie bona fides there. Put it on the poll, Chris, please.
Hello, pie.
At Batard Show, put it on the poll. Pie or cake? You
Wow.
got to. I didn't think that was close. I thought cake was obvious.
Yeah, it is. I had cake
No,
2
no, no,
days
no,
ago.
No. Pie is delicious, Dan. The crust, the flaky, buttery crust of a pie with a sweet crunchy, maybe soft filling,
Yeah, and you can have a savory pie as well. You can have a meat
Yes.
pie.
which Whittingham should really love because he thinks he's British.
In defense of cakes, Carvel does have a crust cake.
Well, this
you
is
know?
the thing I aired because mine is not just a cake. When I think of cake, I'm thinking of ice cream cake. That's yeah. I wasn't actually
You're
thinking.
a Floridian.
I love
We
ice
got
cream
Publix.
cake.
Ice
It's
cream
my-
cake
home of
is
the
great.
best cake
It's
on
my
the planet.
favorite though.
It's
that's
great.
That's
Ice
my
cream cake
favorite
is
of all
great.
the
It's
desserts. Ice cream cake is my favorite.
What if we compromise and we make a pie cake-in? It's a cake, 3 layers of cake
Like a
with a
turducken?
pie baked inside of it.
You know, I had a cronut for the first time last week, and that was delightful. Yeah, have you ever had a cronut before?
Never had a
Chess?
cronut.
I'm telling you, you would love that shit.
What is it?
It's a croissant meets a donut.
Wow.
Go ahead, Whitty.
Croissant.
All right,
Oh,
it's that
Jesus Christ.
meeting a donut.
Yes.
Cronut.
What kind of pie did you have for your birthday?
I had a apple pie and a specialty pie. I forgot what it was. They had like
Special
Fireman
pie?
Derek's?
yes, Fireman Derek's.
Fireman
Yes.
Derek's best pies.
Wow.
Best pie.
Wow.
The Oreo. I think it was the Oreo pie.
Oreo
Crack
pie.
Delicious.
The
Crack
crack
pie.
pie is
And the crack pot. The crack pot. That was it.
But
The
wait,
crack
the
pot, yes.
Oreo pie and crack pot, these are forms of ice cream cake. This is just
No,
No, there's no ice cream in that.
The
No.
crack pie at Fireman Derek's.
Please, Dan.
Come on,
Please.
It's not ice cream.
You should know better
Pie.
than that.
It's pie. You've never been to Fireman Derek's?
I have not.
Oh,
What?
Don't, because
Here
there would
we
be
go.
problems for you.
Group trip to Fireman Derek's.
Hey,
Following up our Flanagan's
it's
trip.
there's one in the Grove across the street from the old tavern. You'll
Oh,
love it.
there's one in Wynwood, so
Yeah.
we can just go right by.
Why
after the
would it
show.
be a problem for Dan?
Oh, you really want to stop there because he thinks I'm going to get addicted to it. That I'm going to start
crack pie.
buying franchises. That Metallark is going to be sold over to a pie company
Yeah,
because
avoid
I'm
it.
going to need to like create an invention that makes it go into my skin like heroin.
Well, you have dietary restrictions. Don't
That's
you?
right. I can't eat
Oh.
dairy stuff. So that,
that
puts
would be
Oh, man.
problematic.
no,
Would be a
all,
problem,
all
yeah.
that stuff, the gluten-free stuff, everything. It's just it takes all of the taste out of that. I can't have any of those things.
How do you keep gaining weight?
It's a good question, says Chris Cody.
Oh, tequila.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's
It's
it. Yeah,
tequila.
yeah. the
Remember when
sugar and
Lendl
tequila,
White
yeah.
lost 40 pounds just by saying, I stopped drinking tequila?
I did not think when today started that a Mac conversation would be derailed by the shouted sentence, Malik Monk, I hate that guy.
I hate
That's
him.
enough.
I hate him.
I mean,
He's you've seen this thing on Heat Twitter, Random Scrub Heat Killer. He's in the Random Scrub Heat Killer Hall of Fame. We've done that show plenty.
I think in
Marcus
his
Thornton.
I think
I
in
was
his
just gonna
last
say that.
Marcus Thornton.
Hate that guy too.
And I think in Malik Monk's last 120 minutes against the Heat, he has something like 80 points.
Yeah.
And he's
an
not this good
all-star.
against anybody else.
He's an all-star when he plays the Miami Heat. Millsap, but he's in a scrub.
Millsap's a
He's
good
not.
one.
He's not a random scrub Heat killer.
Dwight Howard had quite a line last night. Did you guys see this? He fouled out in like 12 minutes, and I think he had 2 rebounds.
Well, you guys saw it, 5 Udonis Haslem minutes out of nowhere.
He made a jumper.
Honestly, the single reason why I jumped on Lakers Live. I bet the Lakers
No.
money line because I saw Udonis Haslem was getting
No.
second quarter minutes. I was like, where can I get to an app to bet against this?
Tyler Hero tossed him up a lob. I was like, Tyler, what are you doing?
Wait a minute. Wait,
you
wait,
gotta
wait.
see the
Tyler
old
Hero
man.
tossed him a lob.
Yeah, yeah.
That is reckless.
Look at the game that you missed. Look at the game you missed.
Sounds like a
you're-
Game of the year.
PJ Tucker,
I mean,
putback slam. Rising
He dunked?
into the air.
Wow.
Putback
Late
slam
in the
from
game.
PJ Tucker.
Clutch- in
in a
clutch
big
time.
moment.
Yeah.
Roy looked at me funny when I said sounds like a cracker. It's an English thing. Is that cracker? Yeah. It's okay.
But why did you say it in a Scottish accent?
Because
Well,
I'm
it
have
changes
to.
it. It
Yeah.
does. You do.
Changes-
It does.
changes
in
everything.
context.
It changes
It's
sounds like I
context.
miss a real cracker.
It is. All of a sudden,
you're
you're like,
fat
hey,
bastard.
yes, you're.
When he
Not all
says it like
Scottish people
that,
sound like fat bastard.
Put it on the poll, Chris Cody. Do all Scottish people sound like fat bastard? Not only a PJ Tucker putback. Okay, so there were some people young enough, bold enough, even though one of them needed a nap, to get to the end of this game. But when you're already questioning, because this show is so stupidly unreasonable about the Heat, it's ridiculous the way that this team, because you have to understand, in 20 years covering sports in this market, it's the only team that's mattered. It's the only team that's made this group of sports fans feel anything that felt like winning. Like, so and it became a Heat town and everything else. So to have a Heat Lakers game where many of you are now parents, and so you're just tired and life has moved on and you're becoming dads, you can't make it to the end of the game, and Chris Cody on his couch is trying, fighting, failing.
It's hard, man. Once it hits 11 p.m., it's just you lay down. You can't lay down after 11 p.m.
You got to keep eating. You just have to keep eating. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that I love the symbolism of Mike Ryan, diehard Heat fan, Heat homer, annoys you at every turn. Can't quite make it through the game, but hey, that Duncan Robinson contract's looking bad after 11 games.
I just don't trust him. I just don't. What do you? Do you trust Duncan
Well,
Robinson?
trust him for what, Mike? To be their fifth best player?
To rise to the occasion.
No, look, this is how I would answer the question, because Tyler Hero, the only thing I took from last night's game, and I didn't make it to the end, I was watching highlights, is I just love that Tyler Hero's taking the shots at the end of the game. Now, I don't know what this season is going to become, but it's going to become, if Duncan Robinson is their fifth best player and does the only thing you need him to do, which is hit threes and space the floor, if he's your fifth best player
or sixth,
you could be a really good basketball team. Like, that's okay. You gave him a contract like he's your fifth best player. That's what you gave him.
Well, I want him to be that. I'm not saying he can't be that. I just have trouble trusting him because he's let me down in spots as a Heat fan. It seems as though when the team needs him now, there are certain regular season performances that he's had that I'm probably forgetting where he's probably been big for the team.
But you're telling him to grow up, Mike. You're telling him to quit being sort of like a sucker who's happy
out there.
Happy to
You're
be
good.
there.
Yeah, you're one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. I shouldn't have to be worried about you because a game feels important. Because Jimmy Butler's out and it's the Lakers and it's prime time. Like, I'm probably cherry picking here because that's not really a big game in the grand scheme of things. What I'm doing is holding against an NBA Finals, a playoff run out. Against him, where we all kind of felt like, is he cut out for this? Like, guts with a flaming T. That's what we always pride ourselves on with playoff basketball. And I want to see guts with a flaming T.
He is 32% from three this year, which is down a lot.
That is not good.
Not good.
He's been bad.
He's 40% or above for his career.
He's been bad. I'll apologize to him once he turns around. I imagine there'll be an ascension, but factual statement, he's been bad.
But I just love that it's coming from the guy who couldn't make it through the game last night, and
box score, Mike.
And
I don't want to watch. I didn't even see it, but like watching the Duncan Robinson show doesn't do it for me. I was watching Wild Coyotes.
But like, to your point, Dan, you talk all the time about athletes having supreme confidence. He, in a feature with Ramona Shelburne, acknowledged having imposter syndrome, like being in moments like, holy shit, I'm playing against LeBron James. And he has recognized this publicly. And like, I admire the vulnerability, but when you get into these big moments, you can kind of see it, that he's still in his head is kind of the guy who was at Williams College, not the guy who's one of the greatest shooters of all time.
Okay, this is interesting.
No LeBron last night.
That's correct. This is just interesting to hear these two guys specifically go guts with a T and flames on it.
Flaming T.
Yeah, a flaming T.
Yeah.
I didn't do flaming
on
guts.
telling him to grow up, to come on, like, be stronger, right?
I'm not doing that. I'm just like,
Be better.
Be better. I said, come on, kid. You belong out there. Stop thinking that you don't. You belong out there. Help your team.
I'm
Be the best
acknowledging the
shooter. reality
reality of something that he said. He has said, I'm not putting this onto him. I'm not psychoanalyzing him. He said it himself.
Okay, so walk me through this, because I thought that before this, and I've told you this before, that my favorite Heat player during that 2010-2014 run was Chris Bosh, because he would say vulnerable things. He would talk about life in real terms with perspective. And Chris Bosh was in this situation before a playoff game in Boston, and when it seemed like the blueprint was in peril, and he was quoted everywhere as saying, like, those fans got to me last game, they were in my head, whatever, and yeah, I'm a little scared, or whatever, some form of that, which is not something you normally hear. And people feasted on Heat because they already wanted to believe it about Bosh in Toronto. Soft, kind of physically, not... Do I want to trust that to carry my team? And he gave voice to that. And then he went through the fire on something that he thought was going to be easier than it was and had to do some learning along the way. Like, I don't blame you for doubting that Duncan Robinson will grow into an adult who's that kind of confident. But I would say to you that the things that make you that, he's going through them now. Like, he went through them in the finals. Like, this is where you hear so often, I'm sure you guys glaze your eyes at mental toughness. Like, when you hear it in the locker room, what does that mean, mental toughness? Mental toughness is now, Stugotz. This team now has expectations. Came out of the box. He's got a new contract.
Right.
The game's different. It's not, hey, you're surprising people. You're awed to be here. Hooray. I get to play against LeBron James.
He's a vital part of the team, though, Dan. They desperately need him to shoot well from three-point range, and he hasn't this year. So fans are disappointed.
But it's all they need him to do is what I am saying to you. They don't, if this team is what you guys believe it to be, okay, which is an unusual team to win a championship, if they can be that kind of good. They don't come with 4 really good guys. There's always a great one. There's always one. It's not 4 really good guys and a three-point shooter. The Pistons were that, and they surprised Kobe and Shaq, but it's this. You're trying to win the championship as a team.
Yeah.
Hey, Duncan, like, you know the kind of men we're talking about here. Bam, you better make a leap. Jimmy Butler is demanding. Tyler Hero, you better make a leap. You better get stronger. Like, Jimmy Butler's got a small window. This is about right now. Yeah. Kyle Lowry is old. Like, hey, Duncan, you got to keep up. Like, that's where athletes grow into, are you tough or aren't you? And you guys aren't helping when you doubt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, also the $80 million guarantee that the Miami Heat franchise gave him is probably not helping. Yeah, the Miami Heat aren't going to win anything without Duncan Robinson hitting big shots consistently for them in important games. So far, I have trouble being confident in his ability to rise to the occasion. I'm not saying he's not cut out for it. I would like to see him go through the fire. But you referenced Chris Bosh, who has proven to be a great player, one of the greatest players of his generation. This is Duncan Robinson. I need to see it.
What do you mean we're not helping, though? Like, what do you want us to do?
We're just calling it kid gloves on Duncan Robinson after $80 million guaranteed.
No, Stugotz, I'm saying that this thing that Mike Ryan loves so much that he, with a straight face, says guts, flaming tea.
That's the font.
Like... when he cares.
But you think Duncan's paying attenon to that?
What I'm saying to you is Mike is.
He knows. If he doesn't know, that would be deeply troubling. You're worried about me not helping? He plays with Jimmy Butler, Dan. Plays with. I am so easy on Duncan Robinson compared to what he's probably hearing in practice after they lose a game.
I'm talking to you more about what fan support should be after you did the local hour with David Sampson, and we're saying that LeBron wasn't helping Cleveland and his team by inserting himself in their locker room with praise, and the guys would get delighted like Duncan Robinson. Like the guys in the Browns locker room, you mentioned that LeBron James praised them, and it's like a god from on high.
Yeah, but I think it's a little different. It's not a true comparison. Number one, he's LeBron James. I'm Mike. And he was like free OBJ. He was being a divisive force, forcing a schism in a locker room. I am just saying, as a matter of fact, Duncan Robinson hasn't been good since he signed that contract. Duncan Robinson in the playoffs, outside of one game that ultimately didn't matter in the NBA Finals, kind of shrank in moments. We all saw it. We all had these questions.
We did all see it, but you were the leader of seeing it. Like, you pointed it out to us. I felt like I felt like you say you keep saying we all saw it, and I feel like you led us down this.
Guys, was I the only one that saw it with Duncan Robinson in that postseason playoff run in the bubble? Like, he was not the same guy.
No, and it was in a moment where I think the other aspect of this is that other teams are game planning for him. And like one of the things I heard this on the Low Post and they're breaking down the Heat, that they have like a handoff play that they work a lot with Duncan, and teams have figured it out. And that's part of the reason why his shooting percentage is down so much this year, is that teams are game planning for Duncan Robinson. That's how important a part of their offense he is.
And the long distance shooting for this team is not very good. They take among the fewest threes in the league. So there is a premium on him being that guy that earned that $80 million through several regular seasons. So I'm not saying he can't do it. Duncan, if you're listening, I hope you are. I back you. I like you. I think you're one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. I need you to know that. and I need to see it so I can stop feeling this way whenever the game is on the line and the ball's in your hands.
It's so interesting because I expect so little from him, even at that contract. Like, I expect, this is what I expect from PJ Tucker. He's going to be in the corner shooting threes, and he's going to be tenacious on defense. That's it. No more expectations. For Duncan Robinson, I don't have any expectations on this team other than spread the floor, hit some threes. Like, that's it. It's not, I don't need anything else. Okay, make an occasional free throw, but I don't need anything else from him. It should be, they can hold up a trophy with Duncan Robinson giving you 9 points a game in the finals.
I don't know. I don't know if they can.
Well, he had 12 and a half last time they were in the finals and they lost. But Mike, he did have a 26-point night in the NBA finals against LeBron James against the Lakers.
Yeah, you remember you remember how surprising it was and how late that came?
Yeah.
Okay,
and how many bad games there were. Thank you. Good to see you, box score, Sue.
But give him a minute,
and I also alluded to the fact that he had one game when that ship already sailed.
Hey, don't box score Stu me. I mean, you didn't watch the game last night. You're forming all these opinions.
But I'm not reading a box score. I'm going off an intangible. I'm being a prime gas bag.
I needed to read the box score, Mike. You expect me to remember what happened 2 years ago in the bubble?
Further devolved gas bag.
I love Chris Cody just sort of waking from a stupor in the third quarter, just, like it was the carbs that got you, right? It's the reason that you can't get to the fourth quarter. And then you wake up at 1.
And I have more carbs. Because I think that'll help me stay awake. I'm like, I got to eat something to stay awake here.
And so what was your analysis as the fourth quarter played out through your foggy haze of carbohydrates?
I mean, there wasn't much. It was just that the Heat are definitely going to blow this game. That's like the whole time. It just had the feel for it. Even though they were kind of up, they kept like Tyler Hero would hit a shot to bring them back, but it just the whole fourth quarter. It just like that's why when they went to overtime, I was like, more of this.
This is the laziest.
More, I know they're gonna lose.
Your fandom,
He's right though. He's right though.
This is the laziest form of fandom
I didn't see
I've
it,
ever.
and I agree with him.
No,
is right.
Dan, you did you stay up until 1 a.m. watching this game?
No, I did. I did not.
It was a classic. Neither team wants to win this game.
Look at all the steam fogging up that glass house. Adam Schefter yesterday apologized for his initial reporting on the Dalvin Cook incident. Adam Schefter with a tweet. Go ahead, Jess.
Did he apologize? Did he say the word sorry or
No, he
apologize?
said
Was it an
I
Aaron
needed- he
Rodgers?
said I
It was
needed-
an Aaron Rodgers apology.
He said I need to do better. I didn't do that, and I should have done that. And he buried his own lead in a tweet. It was a long video, and it was tucked in at the end.
I'd prefer if you could, like as we always do with these things, like Stugotz will catch up. I'd prefer.
I'm just trying to inform him.
Go ahead and start.
No, but fresh thoughts on these are better if you guys haven't discussed it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I want to make sure that he knows.
Okay.
Yeah, because it involves domestic violence. And Adam Schefter specifically sent out a tweet that framed Dalvin Cook as the victim. It was obviously shaped. Yeah, Dalvin Cook is a victim of domestic abuse. Yeah, it was shaped by the agent.
Okay.
And Adam Schefter has since admitted that
it was shaped
wrong
by the agent.
It was wrong to only get one side of it.
Okay.
And since then, there have been damning screenshots of text messages and injuries sustained and things that would suggest that if Dalvin Cook is a victim, he might not be the only victim, most certainly. So.
Yep.
Are you ready?
We're rolling. Audio, video, good to go.
Many of you are with us and know what the last year during a pandemic has been like, sort of trying to build this spaceship at Meadowlark Media. I don't have any business acumen, trying to build the plane while it's in the sky. And one of the things that you saw at the end at ESPN was me jumping from a sinking, and us jumping from a sinking journalistic ship. And what you've seen happen with Adam Schefter, his latest two controversies, including the one from last night, are problematic. And Adam Schefter, Stugotz, is and has been a very good journalist. Thorough, careful, ambitious, hard charging, works crazy obsessively hard. And the creature that is an information creature in these worlds, these are different personalities, Stugotz, all of them. Like they're the guys who can be that good at the job of collecting all the insider information. I've told you guys before, all of these markets have local reporters dedicated to covering those teams. And when Woj and Schefter and all these guys show up, they get all the stories. Very few stories break locally with armies all over the country profiting at the teat of the NFL information currency, which is so valuable. We've got more NFL insiders than we've got NFL insides, right? Like it's just a profit center. Mm-hmm. And you see now somehow some of how the sausage is made on how these insiders get some of their information in a way that's going to make people uncomfortable, Stugotz. So
and how they form their relationships. Yeah.
Well, but so here's the backstory, because this is ugly, and it's uglier than the last time we were talking about Adam Schefter. And it was after the Gruden scandal, and there were email chains, and in it, it seemed like Adam Schefter was almost working for Bruce Allen, who's at the center of all the crud at the top of the food chain in the NFL, whether you know it or not. But Gruden and Washington football team, it all centers on Bruce Allen, was calling him Mr. Editor while sending him something to proofread that was going to shape from labor's perspective how a story he was going to write was going to go out. So Adam Schefter is acting as a partner with the league there. You know, even in the best appraisals of it, he's acting as a propagandist on behalf of ownership. That scandal came and went. He apologized. Now, the latest one. In some ways, this is worse. That one will get a lot of attention. This one's complicated. Because journalistically, Adam Schefter was, it would appear, used by an agent last night before a lawsuit was about to be dropped. And this is covering domestic abuse and battery and victim shaming and a whole bunch of other stuff that we've been talking about recently. You got an uncomfortable look at how the machine works sometimes. Adam Schefter reported before the rest of us got wind of more information. And the lawsuit that Adam Schefter was used as a propagandist arm of an agent, it would appear, to get Dalvin Cook's side out there faster. And it looked like Adam Schefter was used. And Adam Schefter hasn't quite apologized, right, Jessica? It's not I'm sorry. It's that it's the speed with which I got to this story. I've got to be more careful about my reporting and show better, more sides.
His job, in part, is to get things out as quickly as possible, but to not get the other side of the story, which is also a huge part of his responsibility.
But here's the thing, though. In this case,
that rubs people the wrong way.
But in this case, yes, there's that, Stugotz. But in this case, I don't think this was about fast, or that's not how it felt. That's not how it's being received. There was not a need to get this information out that quickly for anyone other than the agent and Dalvin Cook.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say certain stories don't require being the first one to get them out there.
And this wouldn't classify. Yes. This is not a story that he and Jay Glazer are super eager to report. No, it would appear, look, Schefter will have to explain himself. There will be questions about this, journalistic questions, but I would tell you to examine in the macro, as our entire career there shows, ESPN slowly is getting out of the journalism business. It was always something that looked so credible, but at the core of the conflict was business partners with the league. Business partners with the league. Our CEO at Meadowlark, John Skipper, looked around on concussion reporting because of the partnership. And NPR was doing, and ESPN embarrassed itself having to bail out of that because at the end, the conflict was John Skipper's and he had to choose business. Right. Had to make the choice and chose. He was the last stop on we care about journalism. Like the way that pipe, and he did, and he does care about journalism. But in that one moment, when he's got to decide between, are we going to continue reporting with NPR about this league health crisis on concussions? The choice was made, no, we've got to back away now. We are league partners. And it was an embarrassment to ESPN, but they chose business because it got to the top of the conflict. ESPN doesn't have to keep pretending it's that. The sports fan doesn't even, I'm not sure the sports fan wants ESPN to be super credible journalistic entity, but ESPN decided trafficking off newspapers to become a journalistic entity in the 80s and 90s when Stuart Scott and Dan Patrick were winking at you. They decided under that umbrella to create Page 2 where there were writers and ESPN.com and ESPN the magazine, and they became more and more of a journalistic enterprise run by sports editors from newspapers. That's not who runs that place anymore. Those people are gone. Like all of them. That place is not run. They've got journalists, and I'm not saying that, and I'm telling you,
Schefter's one of them. Yeah.
Has been a great journalist his entire career. And I don't know how that coal furnace burns like that, because I don't know how you can live like that for 30 years, because it's such a grind. But it helps when you're in bed with the agents. It helps that if you have contacts to the agents, they can shape all your stories. These agents, these middle managers have been running parts of this game, the information game. It's become clear, the information game for a long time. There is great value in knowing these people, and we know now more than ever that information is power and currency these days, Stugotz, not just in sports, everywhere.
But with a guy like Adam Schefter, Dan, he has set the bar, I think, pretty high for it. Like, the reason I'm disappointed, he has set that bar high, and you would think Adam Schefter, at the very least, would get a story from an agent, and the agent's helping him frame the story, and it would at least stop and say to himself, you know what? This is a serious matter. I can't report it this way. I have to go get the other side of the story. I have to. There's no way I can do it this way. You would think he would be smart enough to do that.
Okay, and that is the second guest that he's getting buried by today, and that his bosses will have to account for, because it looks to all like whether it's so or not, what it ends up looking with Adam Schefter as the propaganda arm of the company on behalf of NFL information, that you can shake the Disney tree. Right. You could shake the Disney tree, and at the end of it, a woman gets trampled, because then the sports cavemen and zealots who are going to defend Dalvin Cook and Minnesota are going to make it harder for her to speak honestly about this. And who knows what the hell happened there? She's police sergeant the pictures are awful, and it looks like the marketing arm for Dalvin Cook got out in front of the victim there, and there you become complicit at the crossroads of where the conflicts on this stuff are. But it doesn't appear to me the sports fan has cared very much about whether ESPN is going to drop it down a little bit on journalism, because these things in old school journalism standards, these are dangerous, like fireable things we're talking about. In the place where journalists can get sanctimonious about where the integrity of the standard is supposed to be.
I think in general, the sports fan cares about the games. They don't care about this stuff the way we care.
But this is what it looks
stuff.
like. So these extractions are messy, is my point. These extractions are messy. And so as they slowly get out of the journalism business here and there, this is one of the transactions that ends up getting made, where I'm not even sure Adam Schefter is going to have to apologize, more than just saying, I have to be more careful next time.
And I would say that, like, what he said on SportsCenter yesterday, saying that he got it wrong, was far too late, and the damage had already been done, because that video on SportsCenter, I'm sure a lot of people saw it on TV. I don't know how many, but the tweet that he posted got like 2,000 likes. The initial tweet where he said the bit about Dalvin Cook being a victim, that was from Dalvin Cook's agent, had 27,000 likes as of a few minutes ago. That has been spread far and wide. So the waters have already been muddied in terms of him getting Dalvin Cook's side out before news of this lawsuit became public through the Star Tribune. It's too little too late. It doesn't matter. Like, once you've put that out there, people have already spread it. And now you can go back and retract it and say you should have done better, but you didn't. And so now it's too late.
Okay, but does the audience care? I ask you this sincerely because I have not gathered, given, and if you heard the South Beach session that we released with Sarah Ganem, one of the points that she made, the Pulitzer Prize winner at the height of the Penn State scandal, is that the people listening to this who hate the media or hate her or hate people who do media, she was saying, you don't hate me, you hate the idea of me. And I have gathered, Stugotz, over the last 10 years, watching what's happening in this country and politics, and as you've heard me say before, to see a president with that lack of subtlety take out the media because of the disdain that there is for the media in this country. That media company, ESPN, is trying to get out of the journalism business very, very slowly and sort of painfully. And I have not gathered that the sports fan cares. I've gathered that their focus groups would say, yes, you can leave. Yes, you can leave. We don't need you here. Can we get back to sports? I don't want to talk about all this Black Lives Matter stuff here. I don't want to talk about where the protests are. I want to just enjoy my games. And it's just, is that not what's happening? Because it seems clear to me that's what happened to us.
It's games and transactions. That's what I believe sports fans care about most. And Adam Schefter is a big part of the transaction equation. He is. Guys like him and Woj and reporters. So I think fans do care about that still to an extent.
But
for the most part, they want to get
information.
Correct.
Not moralizing, not sermonizing, not telling me about the uncomfortable things, not bringing over here that the U.S. gymnastics team that was, at the height of a terrible, terrible scandal, that team would be broken in front of you, sort of telling you the damages of sexual abuse, and that they would give in their own voice. And then the culture fell on me. Then U.S. gymnastics became more important than me. It's how the pedophile is enabled, Stugotz. Like it's the system then crashes down on the victim. And that happened yesterday. And it happened yesterday with Schefter, ESPN, and Disney's permission, right? Through the arm of an agent who got the story. They let that happen. And that's the damage. And that's where you have to be super, super careful at the height of where these things get vetted, usually by lawyers and a whole bunch of other people, before it goes just straight from agent to PR arm to news to it lands on the victim's lap. And now her story gets muddied. And now it's going to be very hard to find out what the truth is here on Dalvin Cook, harder than it would have been without that reporting.
I don't know how you can possibly quantify what people do or don't care about. I would argue that some fans would care about this, some maybe don't. But regardless, I don't know if he would have made I don't know if you call it an apology. I don't know if he would have made that statement on SportsCenter yesterday had it not been, the message had not been received to him like you made a big mistake journalistically or just ethically or as a human being. Like, you screwed up. I don't know if that would have happened if no one cared. But, I mean, he wasn't moralizing or editorializing in that tweet. He was stating something that is newsworthy, because if you're a sports fan and the running back on your team gets suspended or whatever, that's something you want to know. It's just the way that
they want to know the running back got suspended, Jess. I'm not rejecting what it is you're saying. I'm certain there are some people that care. But most fans are busy with their own lives, their own families. We care because we're in the business. They care that Dalvin Cook's not playing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you quantify that, though. I mean, I think some people do really care. I have no idea.
I quantify by the dopey fans that I hang out with, and they care about the trend. They don't have enough time to care about this, to dig through it.
Well, they might have just not read the story at all. But you're saying there's people that hear about the story and say, I don't care about that? I mean, I think everybody kind of just says that's serious. Those are serious things he's being accused of.
What's happening inside of ESPN and journalism is a thing that I don't think many, many fans care about. I just don't. And how they handle it and how they handle certain situations, I don't, personally. I could be wrong.
Okay, well, no, we just did 15 minutes on it, so maybe you're right. Maybe put it on the poll. The last 15 minutes. The last 15 minutes of journalistic.
I'm not saying it's not interesting, Dan, but you asked me a question. I answered it.
But Stugotz, I'm telling you that sports fans at every turn are being made uncomfortable by this stuff being near the playpen. Like they're made uncomfortable. They're made uncomfortable by the idea of, why do I have to have this with my Dalvin Cook? Why does he have to be human? Why can't he just be fantasy points for me? And let's make it this cold transaction that isn't about human beings or victims or anything else. I don't know. Am I creating a straw man there? Because I think that there's many a sports fan that just sort of says, I don't want any of this conversation around my huddle.
But then you're a Phoenix Suns fan, and ESPN drops a bomb on Robert Sarver, and all of a sudden you care. When things arrive at your sport and journalists are digging up information that has a material impact on the way that you consume the game, whether it is an owner or whether it's Dalvin Cook, all of a sudden you care, right? People don't realize the things that they want or need until it arrives at their doorstep. And I do think that ESPN, doing the kind of work that Baxter Holmes did a tremendous job reporting that story. I think Suns fans care. I think NBA fans care. I think human beings care.
And I guess the most important thing is that Adam Schefter should care about this. Like, he's putting his name on this, where he's already under a microscope because of this Mr. Editor email thing with Bruce Allen. And then he does it not even a month later. Like, he should know better. He didn't, and there's a victim here. Whether you believe the allegations or not, it doesn't matter. There's like serious things being claimed. That person is now, her story is overshadowed by what an agent put out. Where, Dalvin Cook's agent could have just posted a statement from his own Twitter account, but he gave it to one of the most powerful NFL insiders on social media, and millions of more people see it.
Mike Ryan, before we get out of here, I just wanted to say something to you. I did a little bit of reporting and asked around people who know owners, because you mentioned Sarver. And I had mentioned last week that if the owners were to oust any guy just because they didn't like him because it's last drop in a bucket stuff, Sterling was somebody they pushed out for that reason. And Sarver would be second. Third is not surprising. Like, just for clowny embarrassments of other owners, not for any other stuff. But Sarver would have been second. Dolan would have been third, but tied for third. Dolan was tied with somebody that stunned me. Ballmer.
What?
That is stunning.
I was stunned by that.
What?
Yes. Like, in terms of kooky, other owners are like, man, that guy.
Seems a little odd. Seems like an oddball. That's funny.
Yes, I know, right? I love the point that Whittingham was making, Stugotz, and I think I can't wait to hear what your reaction to this is, because I really don't know which way Stugotz is going to go on this. But I do believe that there are certain things that have aged their way right out of sports. And Chris Whittingham asks correctly, why can't we do better than hit the road, Jack? Like, at this point,
Hit the Road Jack is an old classic.
I know, but at this point in sports,
Hit
why
the Road Jack? I mean,
we do better than that, Whitty.
Yeah, there's
Nah,
better.
nah, nah,
Nah, nah, nah, nah, nah. Hey, 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 goodbye.
When did this come over you,
gotta keep it
Whittingham?
going, yeah.
When is it that you felt this, where you're like, what are you doing? Instead of enjoying the joys of Hit the Road Jack, you're somberly trudging through it saying, can't we do better than this?
Because I was watching Heat Lakers, and Bam Adebayo got sent off after picking up his 6th foul, and they played Hit the Road Jack. I wonder if that's like almost a tip to Jack Nicholson being a celebrity fan of theirs. But when I couldn't imagine as a fan. I love fan participation. I love going to a game, singing songs and doing the claps and all that. I really enjoy it.
Everybody clap your hands.
can't see Whittingham liking that.
So
I can't, no.
I really enjoy
Yeah,
fan
to do it
participation.
then.
I could never in a million years imagine myself going, hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back
You're
no
so
more,
full of
no
it.
more,
I think I've seen
no,
you
Yes,
do
no,
that.
you definitely
no, I
said
would
that.
never.
Are you
Yeah.
It's
kidding
the
me?
cheesiest song.
I've heard you say charge after
Well,
a
cheesy as so. That's Ray Charles, man. What are you talking about, dude?
Oh, boy.
It's cheesy in this context. It's cheesy in this context.
No.
No more. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but
It's
I
been 40
can't.
years.
I can't stand the fan who complains about a classic way to dismiss someone once he's been sent out of a game, but doesn't have a way to replace it. Replace it. Give us something better than Hit the Road
well,
Jack.
here you go.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is musically, leaving, departing. How do we not have a song that's better about that? Now, maybe breakup songs could work here, but that might be a bit too emotional. Like maybe "Good for You" by Olivia Rodrigo.
I love that this is the
Good for you.
That song slaps. It's like a low-key emo song, too.
No,
Like a damn sociopath.
Paramore got a writing credit recently on it.
Really? They should.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the Jeopardy
Swagger
song
jacking.
on a pitcher's mound visit?
Oh, God, no. Wait, played out as well. The Jeopardy song should not be used for anything other than Jeopardy anymore.
Aaron Rodgers ruined Jeopardy for me.
No, he ruined Jeopardy.
Dr. Oz and Aaron Rodgers, their standards just
Yeah.
in the toilet.
That whole Mike Richards thing didn't do for
Not
you?
the executive
Well, him
producer.
too.
I mean,
Him too.
Jesus.
Don't let anyone be a host these days.
Wait a minute.
I mean, the
Why
guy
did-
gave himself the
why-
job.
Why
I
did
mean,
the Mike Richards thing? Why did it take the Aaron Rodgers thing to make you get out on Jeopardy?
Who's hosting
It was
Jeopardy
all
now?
three. They're all the same. They're all the same problem. They'll let anyone host Jeopardy. They let Stugotz host Jeopardy.
no, they wouldn't.
I think,
You'd probably be the most truthful person they've had on in a while.
No, Blossom.
I love that Stugotz tossed to you, Whittingham, the idea of, yes, fine to be a critic in the arena, but how about some solutions?
Yes.
As if he hasn't made his entire career out of
Listen.
being just the guy that, you know what, enough of this. You know what, pump the brakes on that.
That's unfair considering when I want to change baseball and we have, Rob Manfred on or Jim Leland on, I present options. I present Ponds in the outfield. I present the Magic at bat. I present options. That's all I'm saying. Give me an option. That's better than Hit the Road Jack. I love it. It's a classic.
Are you surprised by this opinion from Stugotz that he's fine going to the grave with Hit the Road Jack? Like that'll be the last song and he's good with it. That he doesn't need
I
improvements.
want it to be my last
He
song.
doesn't need any change in his life. He wants it at his funeral. Hit the road,
Jack at
Jack.
your funeral.
Hit the road, John.
Look at my eyes. I promise you.
Thank you.
I promise.
Thank you. Yeah, because we all know I'm going first,
Yep.
right?
I can't
Knock on
believe
wood.
that it has taken this long to get to this, Stugotz, but it has been a great failure in our college football reporting here that Mike Ryan has wanted to talk about a coach at Oregon that is not the head coach, but is
Really?
the diminutive offensive line coach, correct? For
Yes, I will do this right now for anybody listening along, including Stugotz, who probably has never thought about the Oregon offensive line.
Why
coach.
would I?
Mike has been wanting to talk about this, more than weeks, right? I think I know he caught the attention of the masses a couple of weeks ago, stomping around next to Cristobal.
Right, but I've always wanted to talk about Alex Mirabal. Stugotz, Google Alex Mirabal.
Okay.
That is Mirabal.
And Alex?
Yeah, Alex beforehand.
Okay.
Alex.
Thank you. That's what I was looking
Okay, sorry.
for. Mirabel?
There for you, Stugotz.
Alex Mirabel. Getting there, Mike.
Are you going?
The first reaction from Jess was, "Aw," very patronizing.
There was a picture of him with his children. I said, "Aw."
Does he look like can I say to the audience, he looks like an amalgamation of sort of David Sampson.
He looks like when he stands next to Mario Cristobal, he looks like the earlier stage in Pokemon of Mario Cristobal.
but he looks like
the Pikachu stage.
he looks like
I'm there
David.
now.
He looks like David Sampson if David Sampson thought he could win a fight against anybody.
He can't be a line coach. I mean,
It's
He can be
delightful.
though. He can be because he looks like he can win a fight against anybody.
He stands at 5'5".
Yep.
Alex Mirabal,
Mhm.
and that's totally fine.
I think that's being generous.
Well, that's what the internet says. But combine the fact that he is at allegedly 5'5" with him coaching the most gigantic people on the field, who look even larger when they're wearing their football pads and helmets. And when he's a fiery coach, he gets in the faces of these players. It is delightful.
In the navels of these players.
I was going to say like a chihuahua
He
up to the
attempts to get
ankles,
in
right?
the
Yeah.
faces of these guys, and he is, by all accounts, a very good coach. Local ties down here, It's just not something you're used to seeing. A fiery 5'5" coach, and it is appointment television. I'm locked in, not on pass rushers when I watch Oregon.
Get
not
out
on
of here.
uniforms,
This is not true.
You're
not on
locked
Mario
in.
I don't
Cristobal's
believe that.
biceps.
On Mirabel?
I am locked
I don't
in on
believe
Maribel.
this.
Yeah, he should be a star. He is one of the. We are all learning about the Oregon Ducks football program as they might once again make it to the college football playoff, and you need to lock in on their offensive line coach, Alex Mirabal. Google image, delightful.
I would imagine when you're 6'5", 330, that you're not listening to a guy that's 5'5", who's never played the position. I would imagine. I'm going to watch it. I'm not saying it's not entertaining. I'm not saying he's not even a good coach, but how do you take that guy seriously if you're actually 6'5" and you're a tackle? I mean,
he went at officials who tower over him a couple of weeks ago. He was fired up. It looked like he had to be separated from officials. He wanted to fight. Now, this is classic, like, shorter dude behavior, but he has a great offensive line. He knows how to coach them. They respond to him. It's only human to be like, what can this 5'5" guy teach me about run blocking? And apparently a lot.
Stugotz, you're short. What do you mean you're not going to take instruction if you're 6'3"? Like, so people taller than you shouldn't, like Dan, when he tells you something, you're not going to, wait, no, that's the opposite way.
Other way around.
No.
When you tell
When you
Dan
tell
something,
Dan
do you expect him not to
something-
listen to you because you're short?
No, I'm not an offensive line coach, guys. Like, I'm not speaking to, guys who do this for a living or do it in college. I guess they're doing it for a living. I'm not an offensive line coach who's 5'5", who never played the position. If I tell Dan to do something, it might be something within the radio show, and we've been doing it for 20 years, and I'll just trust my judgment on it.
Well, let's have this conversation from this perspective. Can this guy, because Mike Ryan loves him for La Patria, can this guy become a head coach? Can any head coach become a head coach if you start at 5'5"? Let's do it that way. Because that sport, there is absolutely, I believe that you like a presidential coach if he's going to be a face and voice for your team.
You said that he's never played offensive line before.
He did?
You're mistaken. Yeah, he played at Columbus at 5'5", which I don't think he was even 5'5" at Columbus. I don't even think he's 5'5" now. He played alongside Mario Cristobal. He is Cristobal's guy.
Oh, he rides with Cristobal across the decades, across the croquetas, all the way. I mean, they don't belong in Oregon. Come on. I just said it. They belong here. They belong home.
I mean, how can we still be doing the short thing when 2020 was the year of the short king? And 2021 was the year of the short king. And you know what? 2022 is also going to be the year of the short
Chris
king.
Cody,
Who's been the shortest coach, though? Who's the short coach?
Who's been the short kings?
put it on the poll, Chris Cody, at Le Batard Show. Do you trust the head coach of your team less?
Wait, you said that matter-of-factly, like there are plenty of short
Should I do
kings.
top 5 short kings?
Yes, please.
All right, putting my head down, BRB.
This is in sports or across celebrity? Who are the short kings that you said they dominated the years? And I'm struggling to think of one short king.
Well, this is gonna be a tough list, but I need a minute. I really
Okay,
do.
no,
what classifies
with
as a short
respect.
king? Like 5'9" or shorter?
I'm just trying to lay the ground rules here.
Okay, fair.
Is this all celebrity? And politics?
Anyone.
Anyone?
Any
okay,
short king.
Great.
So this is just football we're talking about here?
And this is gender specific, yes? Because they're kings.
I believe Jim Moore was 5'9".
Jim Mora?
Yeah.
You mean the new UConn head coach?
No, he had a dad.
Senior.
Playoffs.
Well,
Yeah.
juniors. He's also short. No.
All right,
short.
so this is just football, or are we talking about all sports
Everything.
here?
Everything.
Every
But
facet
guys,
of life.
but 5'9", no, we're talking about like 5'4". We're talking about 5'3". We're not talking about 5'9". Jim Moore is 5'9".
Muggsy Bogues coached the Charlotte Sting when they were in the WNBA.
Okay.
Okay, but this was
But he had bona fides, you know.
I'm trying to find out who's my short king right now because we're playing King of the Mountain, and you got to knock off Alex Mirabal, and he will fight you tooth and nail to keep that mountain.
Mike Fratello, 5'7".
Oh, wow. The czar.
Chris Cody, there was some sound that you liked from the Hornets broadcast. I don't have any context for this. Can you set this sound up? Because I don't know what it is that you want to play for the audience.
Last night, the Hornets were playing somebody, and Eric Collins, one of their TV broadcasters.
Wait a minute. So your professional professional assessment is
That's the way you deliver that, though. The
Doesn't
Hornets
matter
were
who they
playing
played, Dan.
somebody. Yes,
Doesn't matter.
exactly.
They were playing something.
Miles Bridges, I
They
believe
were.
that's
That's
his name.
true.
You got
He
that.
dunked. This is courtesy of Bally Sports Southeast.
Loose, picked up by Plumlee. Here comes Rozier. He's got Miles. Oh! Yowza! Hum-diddly-dee! Oh, my goodness!
I agree.
We got to call timeout. Yep. Steven Adams said there's just no way we can continue.
Okay, I need to understand everything that happened there.
Nick Saban's 5'6".
Oh, wow.
Short king.
Who's on my list?
Wow.
Is a short king?
So diddly-dee!
Again, 5'6" sounds tall to me. Mike, Miraball's not any 5'5". It's a cheat. It's
So
a
short king is below average height for a male, which is 5'9". I believe.
All right, let's get back
You're
to
saying the average height for a male is 5'9"? I'm not certain that's accurate.
I think so. What do you think it is?
I think it's like 5'7". I do.
Let's
let
go
me double
back
check
to the
that.
sound.
And that's a
Who
big
told you that?
difference.
Is this something your parents told you?
Yes.
Let's go back.
Make me feel better.
This is-
Yeah. It's not 5'7".
It's 5'9". I
Keep
Google
fighting, Dan.
verified.
We need to hear this again.
Dad lied to me.
I need to know. Thank you, Chris. You can't stop him when he's like a dog with a bone. Can you please play for me again? I don't have any idea what that man said. I have a good idea of what happened from what he said. Like, there's an enormous dunking sound, and I don't know what happened next.
Loose, picked up by Plumlee. Here comes Rozier. He's got Miles. Oh! Yowza! Hum-diddly-dee! Oh, my goodness! We got to call timeout. Yep. Steven Adams said there's just no way we
Okay,
can continue.
how do we make this a call that echoes across the sports landscape?
Hum-diddly-dee!
No, wait.
great call.
Yowza!
It was plenty of yowza. This is the thing. First of all, you rarely hear in one call of a dunk the triumvirate, the holy trinity of a horror movie scream. A yowza, which is, I'm like, wow,
Yowza!
he doubled down. And then the end of the fireworks show.
Hum-diddly-dee! Oh! Hum-diddly-dee!
The Charlotte Hornets improved to 6-7, beating the Grizzlies 118-108.
Yowza!
Imagine if the Hornets ever actually did anything.
You're right. It's the grand finale.
It's unbelievable. I'm like, let me explain this to you. How I experienced this particular roller coaster, okay? This is it's just an audio experience for me. All right, hold on. Slow it down.
I don't think I can.
I hear the enormous dunk. You hear the dunk.
He's got Miles!
Okay. And then I know what happened. Like, that sound made me think, oh, did what happened happen? And then this followed. So yes, what I thought happened did indeed happen. And so how good was it, announcer man?
Yowza!
Right. And so I'm like, oh my God, okay, that's the best it can be, right?
Hum-diddly-dee!
Did he see a cockroach before Yowza?
Unbelievable.
Yowza!
How do we make that bigger than Do You Believe in Miracles?
Hum-diddly-dee!
What does that mean?
Have it not be a Hornets
He
game.
just had nothing there.
Diddly-dee!
What does that mean?
I have my list of short kings.
Give it to us.
Oh, wow. Hold on. I need a pen.
Stugotz needs to write it down.
All right, starting with number 6 on the outside looking in,
Ooh, OLI.
Luis Montejo.
Set, bro?
You're welcome, bro. Number 5, Messi. 5'7". Number 4, Nick Saban. 5'6", one of the winningest coaches in college football history. Has to be on the list. Number 3, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Ouch.
Is he that short?
5'7".
Looks big on television, right? Because you only see him
Well, he didn't.
sat in the chair.
I didn't think of him as short king short.
He is a short king, Dan. Number 2, the Jonas Brothers. All of them.
There's a tall one.
Collective height around 5'7".
What's the tall one?
I think Kevin is the tall one. I think Joe and Nick are both 5'7" or under.
Hmm.
I actually saw one of them not long ago in New York City. I walked past a Jonas brother, and my friend goes, that was a Jonas brother. And I was like, what? And then that was it. Kept
Kevin's
walking.
5'9". He's the tall one.
Terrible story.
He could still be on the list.
You know what, Stugotz? Thank you for saying what we were all thinking. You're so right. Jessica basically just name dropped. Hey, I walked past the Jonas brother. I don't have any more information on this
That was all
story.
that happened.
Thank you,
But I didn't
Stugotz.
know it was a Jonas brother until it was pointed out to me. That's the interesting part of the anecdote.
Living in
Stugotz,
New York, you just see celebs.
there was
don't even
no
realize.
purpose to her story other than to tell you she was near the faint whiff of a Jonas brother.
Happens all the time. I walked past Emily Ratajkowski once, and my boyfriend was like, "That was Emily Ratajkowski," and I was like, "What? Where?" That was it.
Another bad
already a block
story.
away.
Yeah. Doubling down, huh?
All right. Do you want to create a show around just having people reach out to us and say, "Hey, can you tell us the story about that one time you got just a subtle whiff of celebrity?"
I walked past Jason Patrick at an airport.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know what I said when he walked by?
Speed 2?
Michael.
Roy had cake 2 years ago.
No, he had pie.
Yeah. Come on, Thursday, Chris.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Chris,
Hum diddly dee!
number 1 on my list of short kings, Lewis Hamilton, the king of Formula One. He's 5'7". He is a short king.
Hum diddly dee!
That's actually the hits for him, by the way. Hum diddly dee. I don't know about Yowza, but I saw a bunch of on the internet. He's done that before. Okay.
Mike Ryan, I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but I'm going to start off by putting you in a bad spot. You are wearing Chelsea gear, correct?
Yeah, I'm wearing a Chelsea training hoodie right now.
Okay, for the uninitiated, right? You had one of America's most popular soccer podcasts with Chelsea, correct?
Yeah, formerly. It was formerly Chelsea mic'd up with a K. No, it's Chelsea mic'd up with a C. And a lot less fanfare.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
I mean,
Throwing it down.
I'm
man.
still on the chartable emails, everybody.
but they really did just change it from K. They really did change it from K to C on the imaging, and they just tried to keep what you guys built.
We
What
had
you
an
and-
established brand, so they kept the name and not the host.
But you and Whittingham were doing something fun there, and now you're doing something fun with the preeminent American soccer journalist Grant Wall, formerly of Sports Illustrated. It's with Landon Donovan, and you guys are headed to USA Mexico in Cincinnati. Grant Wall is going to join us now, but they had a conundrum here, Whitty and Mike Ryan, about what to wear attending this game, because I thought Mike Ryan should be wearing a USA jersey.
I wanted to wear a USA jersey too because I thought I was going to this game as a fan. However, John Skipper, our leader, has invited us to a box, which it was great to hear, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is my first Mexico USA game, but I was kind of looking forward to just being a drunk asshole with a bunch of American outlaws, right? So now that's a pivot.
Now you feel like you have to wear a suit or something?
I imagine there are going to be a lot of collared shirts in this box.
Witty
and-
must be so excited.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
going to
Fired
dress
up.
to the
And
nines.
Packing last night was fun.
I heard Whitty come in and say, "Oh man, I forgot to pack dress slacks." I'm like, "You're going to a soccer game, Whitty."
Slacks.
So I don't know if it's even appropriate because I've been in the UK for several games, and I know that you wear neutral colors to the games, and this is a colder weather game. And will a scarf suffice? Can I wear a USA jersey over a hoodie? Can I go casual? What is the
Grant, do you have some advice? You know, Mr. Skipper, you are someone who, came up through the journalistic ranks here. You have a popular podcast here, Football with Chris Whittingham. Do you have any advice for the young executives?
If you guys aren't sitting in the press box, wear a jersey for the U.S. Wear a scarf for the U.S. Go crazy. Go head to toe USA, and you will enjoy yourselves. You're not going to be in the press box. I will be in the press box, so I will not be wearing USA gear, but you're USA fans.
But anything is on the table in this box, which we don't exactly know where it is. It could be entirely possible that there is a delegation from Mexico within this box too, and I have to be respectful. But also it's USA-Mexico. Alexi Lalas called this the most fierce international rivalry in all of soccer. I mean, tales can be told about this rivalry, Grant, and I don't want to come off rude by pumping my fist when the U.S. goes up 2-0.
No, you will not be rude. Be a fan. Even if there's Mexico people, they will be cheering for Mexico in your room. And get Skipper to tell some stories about how he got hit with a burrito at Estadio Azteca in 2009 when he went to the USA-Mexico game there. Great story. That same game, I was in the press area, which is not a box, by the way. There's like Mexico fans surrounding you. And when Mexico scored the winning goal, some dude poured a beer, tried to, on my laptop. That's the kind of stuff that you deal with in the USA-Mexico rivalry. And it's actually kind of great.
I'm afraid in this box because this is a very, I would imagine, prim and proper environment. But I actually recently, I went to USA Canada in Nashville with some friends, and I was behaving like such a lunatic that I decided, I got up and left and moved to a section where there was nobody. Because I just wanted to shout.
Can you paint the picture?
Yeah.
You wanted to twist and shout.
Paint the picture of you acting like a lunatic.
Well, it's just me going, what the fuck? Play the ball! Just play it. It's right there. It's like
I've never heard you
pass
say that
and
word.
move. Pass and move. Make the run. The run is there. Sebastian, stop turning and playing backwards. That's me.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I behave like a fan, and I'm concerned going into this box that I will not fit into the decorum of the box.
Good shout.
I think you guys need to let it fly. I think they need to understand. I think they need to understand, like the public needs to understand. Grant, when Mike says that, he's not saying something ridiculous. Mexico, U.S. in football, where the rivalries are crazy, to say that this is at the height of it when neither one of them have been an elite kind of good speaks to just the general hatred in the thing.
Which is great, but like we have very unique circumstances. The most popular soccer team in the United States is the Mexican men's national team. Think about that. How many other countries in the world have an immigration situation like we have here, where so many people have moved to the United States from Mexico, and part of the identity that they have retained is cheering for the Mexican men's national team. That in and of itself is an incredible story and separates this rivalry from any other soccer rivalry in the world. And it really rankles people like Alexi Lalas because he played his entire career in stadiums in the United States where it was like 95% of the stadium was cheering for Mexico. That's changing a little bit in this game on Friday night. U.S. Soccer is hosting the game. It's a 30-some thousand seat stadium, and they've really handled and arranged the ticket sales so that Mexico fans are having a really hard time getting tickets. So this will be the rare pro-U.S. atmosphere in a USA-Mexico game. But U.S. Soccer has had to go through all sorts of efforts to make it that way, including putting it in Cincinnati, one of the places in America where there are the fewest number of Mexican Americans.
I was expecting a real 50-50 atmosphere, and then because of reasons that you outlined, specifically checking zip codes for credit cards associated with the accounts trying to purchase these tickets, they have limited, or so we've been told, there's a secondary market here, so I'm very curious to see exactly what the contingent from Mexico is, or just Mexican supporters. But this is my first USA-Mexico game. With a staunchly pro-USA crowd, I'm in for a fairly unique experience. What can I expect, Grant, specifically from this rivalry?
Probably a lot of fans like Chris sounding like a youth soccer coach dad up in the stands saying stuff like he was earlier. But no, I mean, it's like the American Outlaws are a great supporters group for the U.S. They have literally thousands of members coming from all over the country to go to this game. This is the biggest U.S. game outside of a World Cup every 4 years. And so people have been planning for months to come to Cincinnati and cheer for the U.S. in this game. And the American Outlaws are a legitimate supporters group where I remember the last time the U.S. men won a World Cup. Unfortunately, it was all the way back in 2014 in Brazil. And there were more fans from the U.S. at that World Cup than for any other team except the host team. So U.S. fans travel well, and they do provide a good atmosphere. And that's a really cool story that's developed over the years as soccer has gotten bigger in the United States. But this is a very different atmosphere than the one at the Gold Cup final or the Nations League final earlier this year, when these two teams played in Las Vegas and Denver, when those atmospheres were very pro-Mexico, and the U.S. still won the game, which, those were impressive wins.
Grant, what would a win like this over Mexico, what would it mean for U.S. soccer?
Well, the big part of the point of World Cup qualifying is qualify for the World Cup. The U.S. didn't do it last time. Biggest failure in U.S. soccer history. And World Cup qualifying right now is this 14-game process that started in September, goes through March, and the U.S., after 6 games, is on track to qualify for the World Cup. They're in second place behind Mexico. If they win this game, they'll go into first. The top 3 teams qualify automatically for the World Cup next year. So winning this game would be great for bragging rights, because both teams really care and their fan bases really care, and there's a lot at stake. But also, too, it really would put the U.S. in a position to say, we're on track to qualify for the World Cup. We're not going to totally screw this up like we did 4 years ago.
Is the team good? Can you convince Stugotz that the team is one of the better ones
I've heard this before, Grant.
One of the best ones we've ever fielded, with young players, with the promised movement of youth and scorers that we've been promised for 4 decades. Will you please tell us, as you host a podcast with Landon Donovan, that the team actually has a future and it's not the same echoes of the last 40 years?
I've covered the U.S. men's national team going back to the 90s, and there are unprecedented things happening right now with the U.S. men's team, where you have players in their teens and early 20s who are playing for some of the best soccer clubs in the world in Europe, where you've got Christian Pulisic, a Champions League winner with Chelsea. Serginho Dest plays for Barcelona. Tyler Adams plays for Leipzig. More and more young American players are playing with the top teams in Europe. That never happened before. And so they're getting experience at the highest levels of the sport. Now, because of COVID and because they're young, they haven't played that many games together yet for the national team. And so they're getting that chemistry going again as they play in these World Cup qualifiers together. And I think they'll get even better and more comfortable playing with each other in these big games moving forward.
You can catch the podcast Football with Grant Wall, America's preeminent soccer journalist, Landon Donovan, America's preeminent soccer player, and Chris Whittingham and Mike Ryan will be headed to Cincinnati as well to have a podcast from that game.
There's going to be on-field reaction there. I'm very excited about that. But Grant, what happens if the U.S. loses? Right now, according to our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, that the odds kind of favor the U.S. losing this one.
That surprises me a little bit, because the U.S. has won both games against Mexico this year. This game is taking place in the U.S. Usually I tend to go with the team that's hosting. The U.S. hasn't won a competitive game down in Mexico ever, but they've won a lot in these rivalry games in the U.S. But if the U.S. were to lose this game, the fans would go ballistic. A lot of them would call for Greg Berhalter, the coach, to be fired. And the funny thing about it is there's actually margin for error for the U.S. because they won their last game in qualifying. If they lose this game, they will still be on track to qualify for the World Cup. But the fans, a large portion of them, would act like the sky is falling. And they have PTSD for not qualifying last time around. So I get a lot of that.
Your Substack as well is something that people should find. You recently made a trip. Can you tell me about this story with El Chiringuito?
So there's a couple of stories coming here. I made a trip to Europe. I just got back I stopped in Spain to do a story on El Chiringuito, which is coming. Not out yet, but it's this cult-like Spanish telenovela-style soccer talk show that comes on at midnight every night and goes for 3 hours and has thunder claps and shaking cameras, and it's a hoot. And I know you've talked about it on your show a little bit. It's a lot like your show to some extent, but Spanish. And then I went to Moldova for a story that posted yesterday. It's grantwall.com, and it's free to read. And it's this team called FC Sheriff that beat Real Madrid in Champions League, biggest upset ever this decade, I would say, in Champions League. But Sheriff is run by a group of arms smugglers in this unrecognized country that's connected to Moldova, but it's Russian, and it's a money laundering front for the arms smugglers. So I went there to Transnistria, to this city called Tiraspol, and had a wild experience that I wrote about while also talking to the players, because it's a great underdog sports story. But it's one of the craziest stories I've ever done.
Grant, thank you for being on with us. People need to find the podcast Football with an accent over your U and not the way that you spell it for American football.
Grant, you're already in Cincinnati. I've never been, and the temptation is to have Skyline Chili just because that's what one does. But I've seen the photos, and it doesn't do anything for me. Is this something I have to do?
No, please don't, because it's the worst food associated with a city that I have ever experienced.
Wow. Shocking commentary
Amazing.
from Grant.
Grant's a foodie. I trust his opinion.
Whoa,
and Mike,
wait a
that's
minute.
the last thing your colon needs.
Or perhaps it's a first thing, Jess.
That's a good point.
It's terrible.
I can't believe that you're saying what second place.
Yeah,
on
yeah. What else is in that?
Food? Like you said it, and you said it so matter of factly that I'm like, well, that can't be true. And then I'm like, but I can't rebut it either. So what would be second place on food associated with a city? Grant Wall says that's garbage.
I mean, the garbage plate in Buffalo, probably.
What is the
What is
garbage
that?
plate?
Sounds delightful.
There's a lot that goes into it, but it's terrible. But it's not as terrible as Skyline Chili in Cincinnati.
Wow, Mike, he's basically saying it's the worst of the famous foods. Like, stay away from it.
I mean, it is associated with Cincinnati. It's a word association. It's when I think of Cincinnati, I think of Skyline Chili. Think of the Big Red Machine. I think of Flying Brian Pillman in the voice of Gary Michael Capetto. Flying Brian.
Bob Huggins.
And I think Huggy Bear and 98 Degrees.
What? Nothing with the Bengals? Nothing Bengal related.
Well, Flying Brian, before he became Flying Brian, was also a safety for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Grant, thank you for being on with us, sir.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Grant.
It's
All the
overrated.
ingredients of
No,
pizza.
no. I'm not saying-
It's not the worst thing associated with the city, though.
Jess, hold up.
You-
We're not
You
saying
can't put
it's.
that next to Skyline Chili on
Jess.
any list.
Calm down. We're
No.
not saying it's
Don't
bad.
tell me to calm down.
It's
Whoa.
pizza. It's pizza.
No, people take their pizza
By
very
extension, it's
personally.
good.
I'm saying,
okay? It's
I'm saying
overrated.
I'm saying it's overrated.
Yes,
I'm saying it's
that's all
among
we're
the
saying.
worst foods
You've
associated
never-
with the city.
No.
You've never been at the
No,
Bud Light
no,
Sage
no.
at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the
That's
Lollapalooza where a
different.
$2 slice of Lou Malnati saves your life.
Yeah, but that's different.
Yeah.
Anything's good in that moment.
No,
Je-
but Lou Malnati's, you see the vinegar bubbles in that thing. It is tart.
So
it is
good.
delicious. It is satisfying.
Just New York pizza, Chicago pizza. Like it's
They're
not even.
different things.
They're
They're
two
But it's
different
not a
foods.
different
That's
comparison.
precisely the point.
But what
is
I'm
that it's
telling
not
you-
But you're-
pizza.
yeah,
It's
Right.
not pizza.
But
Exactly.
it's
But
not
then
bad. They
if
can make
it's
two
pie.
different things.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pie.
And I love pie.
No, Chris is wrong about this. The Chicago hot dog is the worst thing that's associated with a city. Why would you put a tomato slice on your hot dog?
That makes more
Chicago
sense.
dogs are so good.
It's
all a pickle.
terrible.
It's basically just
No,
one
it's
big
not.
pickle.
There's like several ingredients on it. You got the celery salt, you got the bun, you got the
Diced
relish,
onions.
you got the mustard, the
Right.
diced onions,
Yeah.
the tomato slices.
There's a goddamn tomato
Sport
slice on a
peppers.
hot dog.
New York hot dog or Chicago hot
New
dog?
York hot dog.
New York
Chicago
hot dog.
New
hands
York hot
down.
dog.
Chicago, you
dogs
said?
No,
are
New York.
You're
so
wrong.
good.
Dirty water hot dog.
Now that's a conversation.
Dirty water dog.
But Chicago
Yeah.
pizza is awesome. You're just not about that life. It's fine, but to call it bad just because you're comparing it to a New
No,
York
no,
slice.
that's not what
compare it to
Whittingham
this
is doing.
apples and
Garbage
oranges.
plate.
He said it's
That's
overrated.
literally called a garbage plate.
It's not a pleasurable eating experience.
Also,
Totally
I'm sorry.
with you.
How can
You
it be-
can't lift it. You're not lifting. You got a
That's-
fork and knife
All right,
it.
you need
Entirely
to
sloppy.
you need to
You
do
can
some
lift
bicep
it.
curls then.
Yeah.
When you can
Bicep
lift
curls?
it.
It's just
It's a
laziness.
handed
like a-
pizza.
No, I get a
Like,
couple
what
of
is
What is
slices.
it?
What?
Just
Weighs like 10
giant,
ounces?
slathered in
Pick it up.
sauce.
Listen to
It's a
me.
I'm
meat
gonna say
sauce.
Yeah,
this.
man,
You're
just
too
eat
dainty.
that
That's
thing.
a you problem.
I
Eat it with a
walk into
hand.
Carlos Pizza in New York. I get 2 slices of Coke. I'm done in 5 minutes. I don't need
Two
to sit
slices
there
of
and
Coke?
yeah.
Wow.
2 slices.
Two slices of Coke. Coke.
2 slices and a Coke.
That's a
fountain
different type of
soda.
Coke.
Hey, you're having a good time.
I mean, that's how I roll. But anyway, I get 2 slices. I get a fountain Coca-Cola. I am done in 5 minutes, and I'm satisfied. I do not want to have to work to eat my pizza, and you have to work to eat Chicago pizza. Chris is absolutely right
then you're
about
just
this.
a lazy creature.
I agree.
Yeah, you are. You
Also,
absolutely
you
are.
can eat it with your hands, but everyone's like, "Oh, you need a knife and fork." No, you
No,
don't.
you don't. No, you
No, you
don't.
No,
don't.
you don't.
You
The
absolutely
structural
not.
integrity of the crust is
$2. Bud Light
thick.
Sage, the sausage pizza. You're good.
it's
Yeah.
so
You're good.
good.
Best
Blue
pizza you'll
Malnati's
ever
is
have.
so good.
Yeah, but you're putting yourself in a drunk state on a
No,
stage.
I'm not even drunk.
It's the Bud Light stage.
That's
you
just a
said.
presenting sponsor.
Okay.
Also, you can't say that something's overrated when it is like literally the most debated sports or most debated food topic of all time.
It's like saying both Marino and Montana are overrated just because people obsess over debating them.
Don't you dare say that ever
No,
again.
they're both good, but totally different. And if you want to get into it, we can decide who's better.
I think what Chris is saying is people from Chicago think that it's the best thing in the world, and then you get to Chicago, it's not.
Since the dawn of time, men have been searching for the answer to life's most important question. Today, we finally settled the debate and crowned the human race's supreme demigod. Also, we have nothing else to talk about. It is Marino, Montana.
We're literally talking about pizza.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Chicago pizza and Dan Marino.
Yep.
I
I'm with
agree.
you.
I agree.
New York style pizza and Dan Marino.
I'll go New York style pizza. Joe Montana.
Wow.
You know what?
Wow.
You know what?
You scoundrel.
You
bastard.
son of a mother.
You bastard.
I'm doing Chicago pizza, Joe Montana.
Wow.
I can't even look at you.
That is.
I can't even look at you.
Had to choose
I
between Notre
thought-
Dame and Pittsburgh there. It was
I
tough, but
thought we were aligned.
I'm with you on the pizza.
You exchange multiple high fives during this segment.
Take it back.
Put Marino in Bill Walsh's system. I'm telling you, he doesn't lose a Super Bowl.
Chicken soup game, Mike.
Well, Montana never lost a Super Bowl.
He beat Marino in one. Remember Marino packed the tux?
Yes. We thought he'd be back.
Yeah, it was easy to
He
see.
never got back.
They never gave him a running game or a defense
Ever.
until it was too late.
Wasted his career.
Yep.
Amen.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good Marino Montana.
So do I. It's going to be the final
Better
topic
actor,
I
though.
do.
Better
right.
actor. Get those Skechers commercials out of here. Ace Ventura.
But do you have
Yep.
that as the final topic I do before they sing Hit the Road Jack?
You're a weird guy, Ace. Weird guy.
Which in retrospect.
There's a new savior on the premises in Carolina, and it's the same as the old savior as they go through Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy's going to Teddy for a while, and then he'll go Teddy in Denver, and you're going to get maximum Teddy the rest of the Teddy way. But Carolina said, no more Teddy for us. We're going to upgrade to Sam Darnold. And then he broke his shoulder, and he ran around, and he led the league in rushing touchdowns for a while,
Yeah.
ahead of Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. But now he's got a busted up shoulder,
Mhm.
and they don't want to go arena football player. They don't want to do.
XFL player.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
a fine.
He
Is
was,
that a
PJ
fine?
Walker was well on his way to an XFL MVP season.
Mhm.
Is that a fine? Is that a fine for me?
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
25 bucks.
Calling
Primarily
him
because
a-
they didn't play them in arenas. They played them in stadiums.
Okay. But
It
during the
wasn't some
pandemic,
kooky oddball sport.
during
It
the
was,
pandemic, they were arenas. No.
it was extreme football.
It was $1.
Fair enough. It is a $1 fine. Now, Cam Newton returns to Carolina. Maybe, possibly, probably.
He's in the building.
Kind of.
According to the
Let's just-
Charlotte Observer, Matt Rule earlier in the week said they're going to explore all options. And we're like, haha, yeah, well, if that's the case, you'd explore Cam Newton, but you're not going to do that just because that's a pride thing going on there. Well, to everybody's surprise, Cam Newton is at the facility.
That's a good story if he ends up being their quarterback. They're not going to do.
Agreed.
They're not going to do better than that. That is really exhausting all options.
Well, we don't know if PJ Walker is good. In the moments that we've seen him in the NFL where he comes in injured relief, that's always a tough spot. I'd like to see PJ Walker was really good in the XFL.
But he throws interceptions, and it's the thing you can't do anymore.
I don't know what PJ Walker is in the NFL because he's
We have
always
no
coming
idea,
in like
right.
jumping aboard a moving train in a game that they're already down him because the quarterback he's replacing has been terrible.
Mike and I have been intrigued about PJ Walker for a couple of seasons. Like
really
we'd like
good.
to see what he looks like if he
Yeah.
plays, 7 games or something.
Yeah, look, do I know Cam Newton to be better than PJ Walker right now? No, I don't. I want to see it.
But once Carolina's inviting Cam Newton into the building and inviting all of that, they've made their assessment on PJ Walker. Doesn't make them right.
Well, they need a quarterback regardless, Dan. Like they need a backup quarterback as much as they need a starting quarterback if they're slotting PJ Walker up. Although that is going to be a really terrible situation for PJ Walker if he's a starting quarterback and you got number 1 in the Carolina Panthers uniform. They're on the sideline in front of a fan base.
Cam's not going there to be a backup.
Cam has been humbled enough to be the backup in Carolina?
They're not running the same exact offense that they did. In the book on Cam Newton in New England was that he didn't grasp the full offense in New England.
Was that the book, or was that one guy like Ninkovich or somebody who was saying that in retirement?
I believe Rob Ninkovich has good sources.
No, but then apologized for it. I think he also ended up apologizing. I'm not sure. Look, that might be true. I just haven't heard that in a lot of places.
Well, regardless if it's true or not, stands to reason Cam Newton isn't going to grasp the full enormity of the new Carolina Panthers offense in just a couple of days. Now, we have seen in emergency situations quarterback come in off the street and start a game for an NFL team. But PJ Walker's been there in that offensive system for at least 2 seasons now. Stands to reason he'd be the starter at least for this initial week with Cam Newton.
I don't think Cam Newton signs unless he gets to be he'll sit out for 2 weeks before having to be the backup. He's like, I'll learn the offense from over here. Do not make me stand on a sideline in my uniform.
Well, how about street clothes? Like he'll stand there in street clothes, like sign, street clothes, get into full practice, get a full weekend next week, and then he starts. Can you see him doing that?
And
street
then,
clothes.
Let me, as much as an XFL fan as I've been, and as much as I've ridiculed Cam Newton's level of play over the last few seasons, dating back to the end in Carolina, I also want to see Cam Newton starting games for the Carolina Panthers. I think that's an awesome story.
I want to see Cam play again.
Yeah, I want to see him play again for Carolina. I don't know. I don't have any recent evidence that suggests he's an efficient thrower of the football. The New England Patriots didn't trust him throwing the football. He also made a lot of really bad mistakes at the end of games that turned wins into losses. We like to have fun here.
In that vein, do you have the sound from Stupidity? Did you say that Meta World Peace is singing with Billy on Stupidity or with you on Stupidity?
Meta World Peace came on Stupidity, revealed to us. Excuse me. That's a fine.
Fine.
No. I'll start paying $5 when you start paying $25.
Oh my!
Over what?
I paid $1. It's on.
Why did you just go hubbub?
I don't know why I did that. It was a weird sound to
I
make.
paid
You're right.
$1
How Alan Thicke starts sentences.
for calling the XFL arena football.
I mean, I keep giving you 20s. I never
Yeah,
get
but
change.
you keep
I
giving
never
me
get
20.
change.
You keep giving me 20. I keep putting it up here, and then come back the next day, and it's gone because I assume you've taken back your 20.
I haven't. No one's giving me change. Anyway, Billy and Meta World Peace. Meta revealed to us that he's a big Celine Dion fan and that he loves to sing Celine Dion songs for karaoke songs. So we gave him a song to sing, and Billy sang along with him.
Every night in my dreams, I see you.
I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on.
Far across
the distance and spaces
between us,
you have come to show you. Go on.
Beautiful.
All right, the famous part is coming.
Yeah, here we go.
Near,
far,
wherever
you are, I believe.
Oh, look who wants it on the front, on the back end.
does. Go on.
Go on.
All right, but that's enough.
It was glorious. It really was. That is in a great spot.
Did he say, all right, bro, that's enough? Is that what he said?
I mean, Billy put all the lyrics up there for him, and Meta didn't want to sing anymore.
All right, but that's enough.